Okay, ladies and gentlemen, kickoff is underway. First play is about to happen. The NFC title game is starting up. Here we go, people. Today is the Sunday we find out who gets to play in the Super Bowl. Of course, we know on one side, the Eagles and the Commanders are the last two remaining in their conference. On the other side, the Bills and the Chiefs are the other two remaining in their side. The Philly defensive line getting pressure right away, chat. Jaden Daniels able to at least get a couple of yards. And that is something about him, chat, is he does always seem to be moving forward on scrambles. I don't know. There's something about some guys that you just see, even like Mahomes a little. I guess for him, the most in the league, maybe the most just forward-moving scrambler of any rusher. But it just seems like when the guys can try to extend plays to create, they're just running around behind the line of scrimmage and maybe making it worse for themselves. But, his eyes are definitely down the field all the time. Like his head's up, he's ready to make a play. But he is still like moving forward, and then you'll just be like, oh, now all of a sudden Jaden Daniels is 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there he goes down the field. Of course, not these first couple of plays. Early third down. And of course, this feels like the game with the most variance of the two. I mean, Bills Chiefs maybe has the most. I mean, are we using variance right? Like Bills Chiefs maybe has the most potential outcomes. I don't know. I guess it has two outcomes. It's either going to be the Bills or the Chiefs. Daniels on third down right away, showing the clutchness. 3rd and 6 keeps the chains moving. But again, we feel like we know that game is going to be. We can already tell we know the pace of that game, and just the general feel of it, and it's going to be down to the last couple of possessions, and it's going to be a close game, whichever way it goes. But this one feels like, is Philly going to, just dominate this game? If Washington could dominate this game, I mean, they were able to put up points in the second half against Detroit in the last game. So, do they just continue to build on that performance, get better every week, go out there and like really lay the law down on Philly? Or is it going to be a close game? One or the other? Is Jaden Daniels going to finally like have kind of a down game, and maybe it's the Commanders team around him that elevates? Is Daniels going to be awesome and carries the team? How's Hurts going to be? Like, there's just a lot of unanswered questions. Again, like we know Mahomes is not going to play bad tonight. Like maybe Mahomes throws a pick at the end of the game. Maybe Josh Allen has the fumble in the fourth quarter. Like maybe they make costly plays and or winning plays one way or the other. But like we said, those guys we trust. We just don't know what's going to happen here for this one. We don't know. Philly's defense, top of the league in third down. Of course, just, top of the league in general. But another 3rd and long as well, too. 3rd and 6. I mean, is this like the Notre Dame drive against Ohio State? Is Jaden Daniels better than Riley Leonard? That's the question. Now, that pass there, he was able to get it out to the guy, and he still gets the first down. It was a little low. I didn't know if it was going to skip off the ground and get incomplete. Can we get a replay? Oh, no, he gets it in there. Zacchaeus. Is that Zacchaeus? Getting underneath it. Pause. There we go. Is that 2 or 3 third downs now? A couple of first downs. Moving the chains. A potentially just early demoralizing drive for the Philly defense. Because, again, the Philly defense is playing well on 1st and 2nd down. It is just Daniels sitting back, finding the open man. Shout out to all the open men in Washington. Jesus. And I don't know if it was just our feed or what happened pregame on this NFL feed, but we logged in. So you could choose between, of course, the English version and Fox Sports Deportes. And I'm pretty sure we clicked on the right version, but when I fired it up, the right version, I just assume you guys all know. Which I thought we clicked on the English version, the one with Brady and Burkhardt, and then we logged in and it was they were speaking in Spanish. And normally, like ESPN, when they do like ESPN Deportes, it's a whole separate thing. It's got its own set of announcers. It's whole other personalities and stuff. But then this was just like Spanish voices just dubbed over Brady and Burkhardt. Like they started up the thing and it was like, "Hola, soy Tom Brady, soy Kevin Burkhardt." That's probably not right. Oh, DeJean breaks up a 3rd and 5 for Jaden Daniels, going deep to Eckler down the sideline. Jaden Daniels, his first, pass to a defender, his first gift of the game. DeJean definitely got a hand on it. Pause. Oh, and they're going to go for it. Dan Quinn, right away. I mean, why not? Washington, what do you have to lose, right? Outside of Super Bowl hopes and dreams, but they don't believe in us. We're not supposed to be here anyways. This is no man's land. This is actually perfect, 4th and 5. Yeah, maybe if you're going to go for it, maybe you set yourself up a little bit better on that 3rd down. But still, you got Daniels. He's dropping back. He fires. It doesn't even matter. Zach Ertz in a revenge game against Philly. He was actually on the Super Bowl winning team, right? He was on the Super Bowl team that lost to the Chiefs, but he was definitely on the one that won as well, too, I think. So looking for another how many guys have won multiple Super Bowls from NFC East teams, That would be crazy. I guess the Giants had won a couple of Super Bowls in there. So I get technically Eli Manning is too, but we're saying different teams. But I guess the NFC East that's basically it, right? It's the 2 Giants Super Bowls and then that Eagles Super Bowl. Because we know the Cowboys aren't I mean, up until this point, the Cowboys and the Commanders have been, at the end of the day, they've been the same franchise. It's been maybe a little bit more glitz and glamour for Dallas along the way, but the end result has been the same. It's been just massive disappointment at the end of every year, and the fans all hate their owners. But now Washington has a different owner, and they're seeing success. So the Cowboys are, a little bit behind. And the Cowboys, of course, were the regular season record, all that stuff. Like, they're a better, quote-unquote, a better team than Washington in the 21st century. But even still, it's kind of close. Some of the peak Washington teams, the RG3 team versus what's the best Dallas team we've had in the 21st century? Oh, and on 3rd and 2, incomplete. Again to Zacchaeus. So they're just going to Zacchaeus in all the big moments here. Apparently he's the reliable guy. I guess, the coverage on McLaurin is going to be the main focus. But that becomes one of those things. It's like, again, you have so much fun watching a team as they're on the rise, and you're just and you're just so caught up in the fact that everybody is playing so well that you're like, hey, look at that. Again, like, they have receivers that are playing well, and then in a big moment, you're like, wait, why is Zacchaeus the only guy that they can target on a 3rd down? 4th and 2, Daniels, is he going to run for it? They cannot get can you stop Jaden Daniels in 4 plays? Can you get Daniels off the field in 4 plays? That's really the question in this game, chat. I mean, our player rankings at the end of the year are just going to be crazy. They're going to be insane. I think the only thing we can do is be honest with what we're seeing. And with what we're seeing right now, Jaden Daniels is impossible to stop in this early drive. It's not pretty, but that kind of becomes the next step of it, right? Like, that's the step Mahomes is in right now. Mahomes is in this phase of these grinded out games. If I need to extend it with my legs and create till the very last minute, I'll do that. If it's these checkdowns, I'll do that. If it's attack deep, it's just whatever is necessary we need to win. We'll do that on the game plan. We're not necessarily worried about these big flashy performances. We're just, we're show up to the office, clock in, clock out, get the win, and go home. And when Mahomes first entered the league, I mean, this was that was part of the reason that the Mahomes experience was so awesome. It's not just that he was the winning, of course, for Kansas City fans was outstanding, but for the rest of us, just the entertainment value that he was providing was the most of maybe any quarterback that's ever played, And that's not to, peak guys like Elway and that one's going to be incomplete. Is that Crowder? Is Jamison Crowder back on this team? The fact that they've been actually able to go to McLaurin a little bit as well, too. And they've been able to use the run game, too. Eckler's been a big weapon over the last couple of games. Maybe Ertz becomes a go-to guy in this game. 3rd and 9. This is going to be and they're in much more comfortable field goal range as well, too, at inside the 25. So is he going to set him up for an easy 4th down? Ooh, here we go. We get a call, chat. We get a call from Dan Quinn. Jaden Daniels is headed to the sideline. Dan Quinn's going to take the field goal. So in 3rd and 9 on the 23, I didn't know if Daniels was going to play for 2 plays or 1 play there, and that looked kind of like a 2-play pass, you know? He definitely had an opportunity to make a run after the catch, lunge forward for the first down. It wasn't too far off, but still throwing in front of the sticks when it's your, especially in this close too, it's not like, outdoors, cold weather, sneaks it in. You want to give yourself as much, benefit of the doubt as possible. But in a situation where maybe 7 yards is less crucial on the field goal, But at the end of the day, 3 points on the board. You work some of the clock. Is that half of the first quarter? So we're going to get, 8 drives in this game. We may legitimately see like 12 drives of football all day between these 2 games. I think, again, in saying we know how this Chiefs-Bills game is going to go, we absolutely know how it's going to go. And I also got to be honest with you people. I was saying it Friday, but I'm a Chiefs fan today. I feel like a Chiefs fan. I don't know. It's not quite the same. Obviously, when it's actually your team in the moment, it's a different feeling. Pause. But I mean, our team hasn't been in the Super Bowl since. I mean, the last time the Colts were in the Super Bowl was 2010, that 2009 Super Bowl with Drew Brees. So, as an adult, like I haven't necessarily had, and then just in general, I guess the Spurs were in the title, of course, in that 13-14 season in the season before that, but they won in 13-14 when they got the revenge against Miami. So obviously just walking around with the anticipation of trying to win those finals. But then again, even after the game 2 or 3, it got to the point where it was like, okay, we're going to take care of business. And then that game 5 where they ended up winning was, just a spectacular celebration of the revenge season and just the whole Big 3 era, and for them actually able to get that one last title run together. And then, Michigan last year as well too. But to be honest, like, again, we were and I know the Chiefs are, and I'm not saying we for the Chiefs by any means, but the Michigan was the number 1 team in the nation last year. The playoff matchup, I think, was pretty favorable for them as well, too. Like, the Alabama team was, better than the team we saw this year, but still not compared to the other Alabama teams that Saban has had in the past. And then Washington in the national title game. Like, it would have been more disappointing, too, if Michigan had lost those games. Like, there wasn't, like, a real these teams, and again, no disrespect to these teams, and I guess we can say it retrospectively now as well too. We've won the title. The only thing that's going to take it away from us is Harbaugh. If the court comes back and tears down that banner in a couple of years. But again, there wasn't much like, oh, these teams can. The Washington offense was definitely scary, but it was like, again, Michigan should be able to ultimately get the win here. Like Buffalo and Josh Allen, like we're saying, this is the year for it. This is the year that this would actually feel like it should all be lining up for it to actually happen. But then you've just got this it's just the historic possibility of what is on the line for Mahomes. And again, I talked about it on Friday, but and I feel like there's always a guy out there that's like, I was watching Mahomes at Texas Tech. But again, what can I do? I can only be honest. Like, I liked watching Mahomes at Texas Tech, and you can admit even at the time too, it's not the smart thing to necessarily even like Mahomes as an NFL prospect, because we know what the NFL evaluators thought of him in the moment as well too. But regardless, just to be like watching that guy at Texas Tech being like, who is this guy in the Big 12 putting up these insane, I get this Texas Tech team sucks, but this guy's putting up these insane numbers and nobody's talking about it. And then he eventually became a top 10 pick as well. Like, that's not like, the Chiefs traded up to get him at number 10. It's not like he was Arch Manning number 1 hyped prospect guy when he was going into the draft, but he was still a really highly evaluated talent. And the quarterbacks, I guess, was he Bo Nix level talent? Because Bo Nix was 12, he was 10. Justin Fields was 11, he was 10. Maybe they were thinking of him more in that range, but it's still top half of the first round. Like, they were still valuing him pretty high. And so by the time we got to the draft, like, people were like, yeah, Mahomes is obviously worth taking a gamble on. And Barkley right away, is this the first play from scrimmage? Saquon Barkley to the house. Oh, we've got a match of star players today, people. Star players in both games. It's going to be Barkley versus Daniels, and Barkley on the first play takes it to the house. Wow. Maybe he is the best player. Maybe I take it all back. I take it all back, Barkley. In the regular season, I was saying that he can't pass Dickerson's touchdown record. He's not, shout out to Barkley. Like, Eric Dickerson's one of the greats. I just don't think it was quite, like, put him number 2, but Dickerson still has to be number 1. But Dickerson didn't score on the first play of the NFC Championship game that year, I don't think. Maybe he did. IT, check that out. But, wow. Philly fans. I think they're cheering even louder than when they saw that bald eagle flying through. This is crazy. Pandemonium. Trying to get back to the Super Bowl. And if you're Kansas City, would you rather see Philly as well too secretly? I get Barkley is scary. Not to just immediately flip back and say, you want to see Barkley in the Super Bowl. But, there is just the franchise familiarity there. But, I mean, we knew the run defense was going to be a problem. Well, obviously that was an extreme play, but... but just the play-to-play of what their run defense is going to be capable of. Now it's like Jalen Hurts. That's a whole drive now. You didn't even have to throw the ball. Incredible. Didn't even have to pass the ball if you're Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense and you just scored a touchdown on one play. That definitely takes a lot off your plate. You're still... And if Washington's just going to go on another long drive like that, maybe it's a 3-and-out at the other end. Maybe the defense is feeling really hyped up right now. Who knows where this momentum's going, but... Maybe just, if Washington kind of starts working clock against themselves now in this first quarter, and it's still only the first quarter, but incredible situation for Sirianni. The Ryan Day of the NFL, make no mistake. He is winning games, and still the fans want him to go. It's just what it is. But, if you're back, if Sirianni is in 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, 5 years, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, or whatever, then, I mean, come on, you got to at least believe in that guy a little bit. He's at least doing something right, and with different versions of a team as well, too. You bring in, I guess Barkley, again, is literally proving that he's taking this team to the Super Bowl. But, that, again, goes to only show that this could help his case for that individual rushing season. I mean, are we going to have to pull the stats back up here and not just do a whole retrospective? But this is why the playoffs matter, people. This is why the playoffs matter. Because in the moment, looking at the regular season, it's like, just the all-time great player as well, too, that Dickerson was. And just the fact that these games, these seasons as well, too, are they're playing more games in the regular season. And it's just the fact that over time, eventually these records are going to be broken and the legends are going to fall down the list. And, maybe in the moment it's rightfully so. Maybe, maybe next year Jalen Hurts is even worse and Barkley has to play even better. He carries the team even more. He breaks the rushing record. And it's like, all hail Saquon Barkley at that point. Off the Super Bowl loss where he almost should have won Super Bowl MVP, runs for 250 yards next week. But, Mahomes wins or something. But, this is why it adds to that legacy of the individual season as well, too. So it was Dickerson's second season in the league, 2,105 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2,105 yards on the ground, 2,244 overall. In an 84, they played in one playoff game. He was 23 for 107, and a touchdown. So not like Dickerson had a bad performance in that game by any means. Let's see. It was who did they play against here? 84 Vikings, maybe? Giants, a 13-16 loss to the Giants. Oh, would this have been... Did the Giants win the Super Bowl this year? Was this the year Belichick? Because the Bears, the 85 Bears, that iconic defense. But, man, the Giants offense didn't really run the ball that well either. 10 for 21 for Joe Morris and 13 for 20 for Rob Carpenter in this game. Joe Kemp, the Rams quarterback, 11 for 15 for 109. I guess just ball control by the Giants, more possessions. Able to win by 3. Was it a last-minute field goal? It might have been a last-second field goal here. Let's see. Do they have a play? Oh, they don't have the play log? We can't go through the play-by-play of the 1984 wildcard game? NFC wildcard game? Why is that? Come on, Pro Football Reference. Get this updated. But, Oh no, the Rams scored only the only 3 points of the fourth quarter, so they would have been 10-16 going into the fourth, and Giants just hung tight. But pause. But if Dickerson's or if Barkley's actually able to take his team to the Super Bowl, I mean, that alone puts him in a different kind of category, where the Peterson season, and again, I think the Peterson season we might even still have as a more impressive season, just because of the level of the team around him and the level of overachieving that his team did. Like, at the end of the day, I guess Philly is still on pace for what we would like. They made the Super Bowl without Barkley, so even if they didn't make the move, who knows, Chad? Who knows? Because again, last year it was not looking good for Philly, and like, let's be honest, Hurts has not necessarily been a fan favorite this year. He's not necessarily been a film darling, I think. It's one of those things as well, too. There's not like a guy out there that's just, maybe there is. It's just, unfortunately, he's not on Rosillo's pod, but there's no guy out there that's just like, actually, if you watch the tape, Jalen Hurts is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league. Like, oh, a fumble by Washington. Was that De'Ami Brown coughing it up? Cooper DeJean with the recovery, and the Eagles are going to have the ball in good field position. Zach Bond and DeJean both punching it out. But Zach Bond, I feel like, has been a menace doing that. Did he get a fumble last week as well against Detroit? Zach Bond, sneaky MVP for the Eagles too. And, I mean, DeJean has been awesome. Wow, there's so much stuff to go through. Is this a trailer for the new Pattinson movie? Who's directing this movie? Oh, that's right, Bong Joon-ho. Shout out. I knew it was like a high-level director that he was working with that was returning for. Is this his first film since Parasite? I think it might be. The former Snowpiercer director, back on Winter Landscapes, directing again. The man just loves shooting things in ice, I guess. But we're going to get a multi of just variants, many variants of Robert Pattinson, it looks like. Ooh, Mark Ruffalo? Ruffalo and Pattinson, a little DC Marvel crossover. We'll see if Ruffalo turns into the Hulk in this one. But, yeah, obviously, again, back to the Barkley thing. Like, that is an interesting pivot for this Philly season, like, in terms of what their expectations would be. And again, we can't even really judge it based on their over-under going into the season because they've got Barkley in the offseason. But with the way Philly was playing at the end of last year, I mean, it's not like that Barkley thing definitely revives hope in the whole franchise and the whole team, and for good reason. I mean, again, he's been carrying their offense here for the one play that they've had so far on the day. But just throughout the season as well, too, like we're saying, Hurts has not made people more confident than at the end of last year. So I guess I don't know if Philly is on the same pace that they would be with Barkley. But again, at the end of the day, compared to some of those other running back seasons, like the Peterson team definitely did overachieve. And it even becomes a historical would you rather. Like, I guess we'll just have to see how the rest of this game plays out. Like, how unstoppable is Saquon Barkley for the rest of this game? And I guess how much do you sell out as well, too, to stop the run? How much are you able to sell out and then just let Hurts kind of burn you? Because the other thing is Hurts only has to burn you a couple more times at this point. I mean, that turnover is pretty killer. It's going to be, potentially 10-3 with just where they end up getting the ball. So at least like the next drive, you're only tying it if you have a touchdown drive. But if you put Barkley on some of those historic teams, like, is it 100% the same as like Peterson? I don't know why we're trying to sit here and just debate, but it's just like, this is just us trying to make place in history for all these guys. Like, these are crazy names that you start moving above. Like, it's tough to just randomly move a guy up the list. Like, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes, like with a guy like Wemby, I mean, make no mistake, we're already like, is he the 4th best player in the league? But when it just starts to the all-time stuff, I guess the in the moment stuff is different because that is in the moment. So you have to be honest about what you're seeing, and if you're trying to be competitive, like you have to be making sure that you're, capitalizing on what's available and then setting yourself up for future success as well. Make sure you're properly taking into account the past performances. Jalen Hurts on the quick rollout, able to get a quick completion. So okay, they were around midfield and they fumbled that one. So with Jake Elliott's accuracy this year, they will need to do a little bit of a drive to at least set him up for a scoring range here. But again, yeah, it's like, you don't just get to climb over the Peterson season like that, the Dickerson season, even the Derrick Henry season in Tennessee. Like, you don't just get to randomly be better than that season just because you put up a big number. It's like you really have to take into account the impact of the team around him. And Hurts with a nice drop to Devontae Smith. Was he out of bounds, that second toe? I didn't see the ref call. I just kind of saw him on the sideline. Yeah, it looked like he got it, but that second toe looked like it was close. And I'm not saying this about Hurts because I'm necessarily anti-Hurts either. Like, again, I'm just trying to be honest about what I'm seeing in the moment. Like, if I was, running a team, like, you have to make tough decisions. If you're watching Hurts' performance, like, it is leading to, at the end of the day, he is the quarterback and the team is winning. But, you just have to be, again, making sure that you're staying available. I don't know. It's one of the, like, sports, we know there's no loyalty in sports, chat. And not that you want to move like a disloyal team, but, you want to be competitive as well. So it is a tricky spot. Like, how are you going to get a guy better than Hurts? But again, the ability to move a quarterback, we've seen that potentially, even with guys, farther along in their career, a la Russell Wilson. Like, there's still things that can be done. Barkley to the outside for his second touchdown. And it's 14-3. And now we're on the verge here. Early first quarter, chat. Wow. A quick day's work for Philadelphia. We're on the verge of Washington in dangerous territory here. And Jaden Daniels is the type of guy, as long as it's in a vague sort of distant realm of a couple of scores, like, I don't feel like we can totally count this guy out, of course. I'm just saying that. The win should we look at win probability now that it's 14-3? This might actually be a perfect time to check it. 86.4. Okay, not super aggressive. I mean, obviously, quite heavily favoring Philly. There we go, chat. Quite heavily favoring Philly, but still not impossible. Not the 99. Not the 90s. The A+. But Barkley can't be stopped, especially going to the outside as well, too. If they're going to rush on the edges, it might be game over for Washington. And obviously an unforced error sort of on the receiver's part. A non-QB turnover anyways. Because those are the ones that are game plan-wise really concerning. Like, game result-wise, again, the ones that are concerning are the ones where the receivers and the running backs are fumbling. But if the quarterback is in the pocket, obviously, and not evading pressure and getting strip sacked, or he's not seeing the guys down the field and he's throwing picks, then those are the ones where you're like, well, how does our offense function? So, again, it's not like we've watched the Commanders at this point in the game and goes their offensive broken. They've obviously had to really work for it. And maybe time is going to be a thing that they might have to start thinking about as well. 3 minutes left in the first, but it's like, okay, just the overall pace of our drives. Like, obviously at this point in the game, you just got to do what you got to do to get points on the board and stay on the field. I'm just saying that. It can't be I guess if you're looking to go for things later in the game, I don't know if you can, at this pace, go to some of the slower stuff. Because, again, I don't know if you're going to be able to get off the field as well, too, as the run game. It's tough. This is why we said we wouldn't be a coach, chat. We'd be a GM just sitting up in the box trying to worry about it. No, actually, we'd just be a fan sitting on our couch just pretending like we know what we're doing. But anyways, back to that Bills-Chiefs game that we were talking about as well, too. Because like we said, that's the game that we've been pacing around all day. I mean, It really has been that kind of anxiety. This is the most anxiety I've ever had for a non-title of my sports teams. Like, I was seeing some stats today about the Chiefs that would make you more confident in the Chiefs, and I was like, I want to send this to Sam, and like, be like, hey, we got this, like, let's go Chiefs, let's go Mahomes. Of course, Sam said when he was on here last time that he's literally as confident he's ever been. He thinks that they're just gonna take down all these teams, but again, Josh Allen is scary this year, and the fact that the stat that I saw that I wanted to send to him was a stat on Trey Wingo's Instagram, actually, that came through our our algorithm, but it was like game-winning / game-tying drives in the fourth quarter playoffs, something vaguely around that, a little more specific, but generally it was like, the game-winning drive or the game-tying drive in the fourth quarter playoffs when you need it, and it was like all these really historic players that are really high up on the list for this stat, or like Brady's like 5 for 11. A lot of guys are in like the 50 to high 40% range, but Mahomes is like 100% in his career. Like, he's literally always gotten the drive in the playoffs when he's the only guy in NFL history to even be, that much over half, much less the fact that he's actually perfect up to this point in the career, which made me a little nervous because it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, is he due for a game where he doesn't get the drive? Maybe, but it was also like, Buffalo is the team that he has taken down in the playoffs multiple times, and a team that he has specifically gotten that drive on, and they know that. And I forget who was it, Sheil Kapati on Rosilla's pod that was talking about the fact that maybe it was somebody else too, but shout out to Sheil. We'll just give him the credit because he's a cool guy. But somebody was saying that like the way Buffalo played in that regular season game where they adjusted the score mentally in their head to be more aggressive and to be like, we can't afford to settle for field goals in this spot. We can't afford to let Mahomes have the opportunity to even have the drive. The fact that Buffalo knows that they can't even let Mahomes have the drive is the thing that actually makes me nervous in this game, because they might know how to control the clock in the fourth quarter and at the end of these games, which is the thing that the teams, it's the weird thing that these other teams, it's all throughout history as well too. It goes back to the Brady years. And again, Brady, even historic, like in that stat that Wingo was saying, like he said Brady was 5 for 11. So it's like, okay, Mahomes has already had more of those drives than Brady in his career. But it was like, yeah, Brady was the best at those drives. Confidence-wise as a fan, like we would trust Brady as much as anybody in those moments. Just name a great playoff quarterback. Like, those are still guys that it seemed like those were guys that the other team always kind of let them hang around. And always kind of, they played it a little too safe in the moment, where it was like, okay, let's play for the win here and not play for like the absolute, it's the Thor to Thanos thing. A lot of these teams will throw the axe into the chest of Thanos, and the Buffalo Bills know after losing to Josh Allen and Mahomes multiple times, and chat, the Commanders just go 3-and-out. I think that was 3-and-out because we were rambling about Mahomes. It was a 4-and-out, if they got a first down on the first play there or something. Cooper DeJean as the punt returner. I don't know why. Does this feel big special team? Big play, Jim? Are we going to get a Cooper DeJean moment here in the playoffs? Don't punt it at Cooper DeJean. The hometown kid, Iowa. Represent. Shout out, Nas. Really going to try to draw him off sides on the punt snap? Oh, it's a fake. He throws it down the field. Oh, he makes the catches that hurts. Back-to-back weeks. Dan Campbell isn't even hiding his strategy anymore. You just know, first quarter, he's just going for it. He's fake punting. He's the guy in Madden. He's not even going to punt anymore out of these formations. Oh, Dan Campbell. Not even Dan Campbell. Dan quit. I don't even know I'm watching, chat. Lions fans are going to be upset. They're going to be like, oh, man, we wish it was us. What could have been? I'm sorry, but there's too many coffee-drinking white coaches in the league named Daniel. So we get him confused every now and then. Speaking of Daniels, Jaden Daniels staying alive, evading pressure. Don't take the sack. He takes the sack. Uh-oh. A quick 3-and-out and taking the sack on the first play. Is this the rattling moments? And we were also hearing, the stats of the rookie quarterbacks in championship game play. Of course, they've never won, but there's also been poor performances as well. It's a different level of team that you're playing. It's a team that's usually playing with a different level of confidence and a different level of. Oh, Jaden Daniels gets it in. Pause. I thought that was going to be a pick. There was 6 defenders around. It doesn't even matter. He puts some juice on it. Going back to De'Ame Brown even after the fumble. 2 arms around it, buddy. Cradle that thing. Okay, we're back in mini field goal range here. I mean, I'm not as invested in the Commanders, and we love Jaden Daniels and we love to see the success story. Mahomes, the thing is, you go back, it's like for guys in our age as well too. Like a guy, like I was watching him at a specific time in your life where Jaden Daniels, I was literally watching him in college last year. Like as an adult now, Chad, it's just different. Only, like I said, Wemby's the last guy that we're like might have like that sort of. Can you say kid attachment? Is that a pause? I don't know, chat. But like that's just that last sort of blissful, just watching a guy. Just you're gonna blindly root for a guy, blindly believe, not be willing to accept like the negative outcomes of what might be. But end of the first quarter, at least the Commanders are still going to have the ball and some momentum after that fake punt, chat. And I believe the other one was early. It was definitely first half. Maybe it was second quarter last week, but it was definitely first or second last week. So I guess if we're the Chiefs or the Bills, whoever the AFC team is, if it's the Commanders winning this game on a comeback, look at that. Philly's win probability already dropping down below 80 after that fake punt. But if it is the Commanders, just beware of the fake punt in the first half. Beware. It will be called. And that's 2 for 2 as well. So you got to give credit to the punter. And that one was into the middle of the field. That one was like a touch pass over the defender. I think he put that one between the defender and the safety. There was like a guy coming. Maybe that was DeJean, the gunner, running up on I don't know if one of the other gunners, or DeJean the returner, I don't know if one of the other gunners like was reading the play and started to run over to help. But I thought there was like a defender sort of approaching from the top as well too. So incredible. Maybe put the punter in over Daniels if this thing starts going south, chat. Who knows? Man, we would not want to play Madden against Dan Campbell. He'd be an aggressive play caller. A Gordon Ramsay cooking show? Gordon Ramsay, do these coaches give Gordon Ramsay vibes? Maybe is that the model for a coach? Like, who is the most like Gordon Ramsay, and then that guy can be a good... Because, again, the Lions are... Dan Campbell has turned that organization around. Like, you got to give the man credit. And Joy Taylor still... Now she's moved to the front of the Fox promo for the network, FS1. They just showed all the personalities, and she was right up there, and pause, up at the front. Shout out to First Things First. Of course, I guess Nick Wright is nervous. Is Nick Wright more nervous? We might be the most nervous, just non-Chiefs fan in America for this game. Because, again, I don't even think there's a non-Chiefs fan that still cares about the Chiefs winning. Like, even the Mahomes people at this point don't want Mahomes to... they're good. They're like, we can give it up for 1 year. 2nd and 10 inside the 30. Oh, come on, Daniels. A touchdown here. The faith in the league that would go into your game. Going back to Brown on the outside. So mark it up. Receiver, first round next year. Or at least a weapon at some point. Continue to add some weapons. And that wasn't Ertz. Who was that? Sinetti? Who's the tight end there? Is that a Sopranos actor? Oh, 3rd and 10. Washington averaging 4 yards a play. Empty set, too, for Daniels. The pressure. He's not running forwards in this game, chat. The man is moving backwards. He throws it out of bounds. He doesn't take the sack this time. Keep yourself in field goal range. It's a good play at the end of the day, but now that Philly defensive line and that pressure starting to show itself an issue in these passing situations, these long downs, chat. Daniels is not able to create with his legs either, keeping him in the pocket. So 6-14 still keeps you in a one-score game. Again, we just need Jaden Daniels to hang around. We just need Jaden Daniels to have a moment. Because Trey Wingo will be reading Jaden Daniels stats in a couple years, and we'll be wondering why why we're not confident in Jaden Daniels going for the 3P, you know? But as long as he's in the mix at the end of the game, that's what matters. So big fourth down call by Dan Quinn there. Did we get the right coach, IT? Dan Quinn is the coach of the Commanders? Okay. And we got the right team name as well, too. We don't want to start going back into the old days, but shout out getting the 3 points on the board, keeping it at least a one-score game. And you know that he'll be wanting to go for 2 at some point later in the game anyway, so this will just force him to do it. He's like, well, what? I had to go for 2. My hands were tied. I had no choice. Shout out, chat. This is one of the last of our Christmas gifts we finally... I forgot this was just sitting in the fridge. This mango sparkling tea that our mom got us. So, shout out. This will help power us through the rest of this game. But can we get Saquon Barkley off the field here is the question. Saquon has not been stopped yet. I guess this is I guess we were going to say the last drive was like the drive, but I guess this is the sequence, right? Where even still, I guess Philly could go up if they're just unstoppable here. They could go up 21-6, and it's like we're kind of scratching our heads going into halftime going, uh-oh. But Barkley versus Mahomes? Barkley versus Josh Allen? I mean, there's going to be some crazy storylines if the Eagles end up winning this. And the defensive stats as well, too. They're showing them on the broadcast. Didn't realize they turned around that well for Philly because they've had some good defenses. I mean, you know, you can pick and choose the stats. Like, that defense they had a couple years ago was one of the best sack defenses in all of football, you know, in recent history. Like 70-plus sacks or something like that, maybe 80. So this one, you know, points per game, maybe overall, of course. The actual stat that you need that matters, they're producing better. Oh, and this time they swallow up Barkley behind the line. Getting the stop. 2nd and long behind the sticks. Oh, Barkley using the little massage gun on the Achilles tendon area on the... is that the right? We gotta do the reverse imaginary handshake on the right leg. Not good, though, for the... Obviously, for Philly fans, for Barkley's health. Hopefully, it's just okay. Hopefully, that doesn't turn into something major later on. Now, Jalen Hurts has to actually drop back to pass. And he's finding guys right now, Chad. He looks comfortable. I mean, the Commanders aren't really getting to him, so he has some time. If Jalen Hurts is going to have time as well, too, then, you know, what are you going to do? That's going to be the thing about, you know, even Buffalo would be, I think, be able to, like, Buffalo's front, I think, is better than the Commanders' front, right, chat? Like, Rousseau. Von Miller was making plays in the game against the Ravens. He had a fumble. So, I feel like those teams, the AFC teams, might be able to rattle Hurts more. And there we go. They're getting to him. They're forcing him out. Hurts down the field. Looking for A.J. Brown. Incomplete, but the AFC teams might be able to pressure him a little more, rattle him. Barkley with a good block on the defensive on Newton. You know, Newton pressures up the middle and forces Hurt out of the pocket, but that's a good job of holding up, protecting your quarterback. I mean, Newton could have just gone in there and gotten the sack or, you know, really like, at least he cleared a lane as well, too. Like, use Newton's momentum, get him off track. Strong play by Barkley. Oh, Philly going behind the sticks on a false start. Is that the first flag of the game? Maybe the first pre-snap. Sean Hockley. Oh, I'm surprised he took this long to get involved. Second quarter. Who knew? Typically, we'd have 3 or 4, long monologues by Sean Hockley by now. Just a couple of over explanations of the rules. It's like we're in the first quarter here. I get it's a playoff game, but save it. We'll Google it, We have ChatGPT now. We'll just figure out what's going on. We don't need Sean Hockley's long. Sean Hockley might actually be just hooked up to ChatGPT. Sean Hockley ChatGPT. We'll workshop that, but the way he monologues, it's just like the way ChatGPT will just like keep giving the answer. You're like, I don't need all this information when I Google this. It's just like, what year was America started? I just need the year. 3rd and 7. Can Washington get a stop, chat? Hurts so far, 5 for 7 for 64. Like we're saying, he has been finding guys down the field when he's been protected. So at the end of the day, that's okay. Can't be too mad about that. We get it. Okay, he's not Allen. He's not Lamar. Can he beat Jalen Hurts? Can he be good enough to get the Eagles to the Super Bowl? There we go. 3rd down conversion. Goddard breaking the tackle. Getting across midfield to the 40. And make no mistake, we will have to do a couple of cushion resets during this because these just, I don't know, maybe we have to get some stronger Velcro, get these things really secured in, but they just, and it's our postures. If you see our posture just getting worse progressively throughout this, it's just because the couch cushion is just sliding out. So make no mistake, at halftime, we'll have to do some kind of reset. And there we go. Another good stop on Bark. Oh, that's Gainwell. But at least in the run game, another good stop. What, is Sirianni going to call 2 runs in a row? Doubt it. Philly, it's not like they would ever do that. Gainwell's still in the game, though, so odds are they're telegraphing. Jalen Hurts back to pass. It's to Gainwell in the flats. Great play. Gets him to 3rd and short. Sirianni. I guess Kellen Moore in his bag. Extra motivated now that he knows he's not going to be coaching. Why are my car keys just sitting here, chat? I guess, we were just running in. Shout out. I don't know if anybody's ever showed their car keys before live on stream. Is that like too much personal information? It's like the one personal thing that, can somebody like copy like the car? I don't even want to start giving ideas. Like, they're going to hunt down my car. I mean, I guess, could you do me the favor, chat? Can I claim some kind of insurance, get a new car? No, shout out. It's a good car. It's holding up, powering through these crazy winters, We're finally back into the 20s and 30s. It's shorts weather out there, chat. About to hit the lake, Little beach day if it gets into the 40s. Go maybe tan a little bit. So this is a Gainwell drive. Okay, there we go. Barkley's back in. It's like we're in the NFC Championship game. You're going to say Barkley now? He's at 3 carries. Shout out for the 61 yards, but still, I think you don't need to start saving him in the second quarter. But you're going to be relying on him late in the game, so I get it. Ideally, it's going to be 30 Barkley carries in the second half, just running the clock out, not making sure Jalen Hurts turns the ball over. Oh, he's running way back now, chat. Throws it away. 3rd and 6 in field goal range. Come on, who's the Washington defensive coordinator? Who needs to clutch up here and call engage 8? I guess is Bobby Wagner the guy out there making the moves? Sandstrom has not been burned. Who's on A.J. Brown? The corners are holding up right now, too. Devontae Smith had that play on the sideline a little bit earlier, and they've hit the tight ends and the running backs and stuff. But for the most part, the receivers themselves have not been super high usage up until this point. Is there a timeout by Philly? Okay, chat. First time out of the game for Sirianni. Got to really think about this 3rd and 6. Because it's 17-6, 11 points with Washington getting the ball back as well. And Washington did start with it, so we know Philly gets the ball in the second half. Shout out to Brady and Burkhart in the booth. Both looking quite dapper. Do we need to get our suit game on for this? Maybe next year, 2020, 2025, regular season watch parties. We'll do a little suit and tie situation. Because even Scott Hansen, Red Zone, he's putting on a suit. So maybe we need to step our game up. Get a little Men's Warehouse, slide in the DMs. Or, somebody that makes actual good suits. Shout out Men's Warehouse. But, a sack on 3rd and 6. There we go. And that's going to make things interesting for Jake Elliott. Because it's not going to be going for it territory. Is this a punt? a sack, putting him back at the 39. Can they maybe kick a field goal here? Frankie Louvu making the right move. Oh, chat. This has got some distance on it. Jake Elliott's over by the logo. Jake Elliott's never missed in the postseason. Uh-oh. Well, he hasn't attempted a postseason kick this year, obviously. It's a good thing those regular season numbers don't carry over. Jake Elliott from deep. There it is. His first miss. You knew it. Chalk it up. It was an easy one. You knew it was going to happen. Jake Elliott has not been that guy this year, unfortunately. Not been the 22 for 22 Jake Elliott that we've seen apparently in the postseason beforehand. And that Louvu sack makes things even more interesting. A big play by the Commanders defense, chat. Wow. So they got the special teams play in the first quarter with the fake punt. They've got the defensive play in this quarter, making the sack, forcing the extra long field goal, and now Jake Elliott pulled the Jake Elliott and has missed the field goal. And if the Commanders go down and score a touchdown, we're looking at a potential tied game, chat. A tied game with the way the Commanders have played this far. Big special teams mistake by Philly. We knew they were going to have one at some point in this postseason as well, too. Again, they said Jake Elliott hadn't missed yet. Let's go back and look. I can't remember. Did he kick any field goals in the last game that they played against LA? He kicked extra points. No, they put up 28. 22-28, so it was all touchdowns. Right? No. There's a couple in here. Let's see. Jake Elliott was 1 for 3 on extra points. Yeah, so he was 3 for 3 on field goals last week. Continued that postseason perfection anyways from the field goals standpoint. But yeah, again, he was already missing extra points last week. So you going to throw him out there for 55 yards? 54? It don't matter. He's not, unfortunately, reliable outdoors. It's a tough one. And again, you can't have gone for that. But could you have punted that, chat? Philly fans, would you have been more confident if Sirianni had punted that and decided that we're just going to play field position? The Commanders' offense has not really looked that great this so far. Again, they really only got the momentum out of the play of the fake punt. And that drive, if you're looking at the Philly defense, you go, we still held them to a field goal that drive and had some success making a stop there. So would you have just tried to punt it and pin him a little deeper instead of the long field goal? Because now they're going to have very favorable field position as well, too. Oh, it's not good for the Commanders when you have to start showing the black and white highlights to be like, hey, remember when times were good? It's like, hey, what about the 80s, Doug Williams, Joe Gibbs. Shout out Joe Gibbs, just one of the most underrated coaches in NFL history. When we talk about the greatest coach conversation, I get, at the end of the day, there are only so many guys that can actually be in, it's Belichick and Reed and, Don Shula or whatever. But Joe Gibbs does have 3 Super Bowls and won all 3 of them with different quarterbacks. That just can't be underrated, That's like actually crazy to think about. 3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks. Like, imagine if Nick Sirianni was the coach this whole time with the Eagles, and it was in that Sirianni had won that Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Sirianni had won the Super Bowl with Hurts, and then maybe they're the ones with Sam Darnold this year, and it's like Sirianni's going to do it again with Sam Darnold. Imagine if it was Shanahan. If Shanahan wins the Super Bowl with Garoppolo, wins the Super Bowl with Purdy, and then brings in a new quarterback this year and wins another Super Bowl, we're like, oh man, Shanahan is the best coach in the league, and Belichick needed Brady for 20 years. Like, Shanahan's doing this with just 3 different guys. Like that was literally Joe Gibbs in the 80s. Joe Gibbs, 3 Super Bowls. Was it Theismann, Rippon, and Doug Williams? Definitely Doug Williams and Rippon. I know Theismann was league MVP, obviously worthy of it. I just don't remember if he, with his career getting cut short by injury, was actually able to be the quarterback that played in the Super Bowl. But I think he was. I don't think it was Sonny Jurgensen or anybody like that. But with the way the Commanders have been, at least for our generation as well, too, like, you just don't think of these franchises as to go back and be like the great players are from these franchises as well. Like, just in that conversation. And Joe Gibbs doesn't really ever get brought up. I don't know if there's something that we need to go look up in Joe Gibbs' past that there's a reason that nobody brings up Joe Gibbs. Like, nobody in the media even brings up Joe Gibbs as well. I don't know if they're like really salty that he went over to NASCAR, but I think that helps his NFL case. It's like he went to NASCAR as well too, and has built one of the best NASCAR teams. I don't know if I have the stats for his NASCAR team necessarily, but oh yeah, and he did have that little run as well too in the early 2000s where the team was kind of mid. I don't know if that, again, especially for the people watching it kind of modern day, if that kind of soured what they were thinking. But yeah, Theismann was the main quarterback that year for the Commanders. Ooh, we're not going to try to trip up historically this time, Chad. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to put out our effort. Pause. To just be like, hey, if we do slip up, it's like, it's unintentional. We're not just saying it. We're slipping up. We're trying to not. Theismann, not great in the Super Bowl. 2 picks, 2 touchdowns. But John Riggins, of course, Super Bowl MVP, I believe. 38 carries, 166 yards in that game. Oh, is that McLaurin? McLaurin darting into the end zone on a 3rd and 3. I'm over here looking up Joe Gibbs stats, and McLaurin's in the end zone for a touchdown. Potentially tying this game. It's if they go for 2. Replay. Jaden Daniels finding the guy on 3rd and 3. Oh, under pressure. McLaurin on the slant. DeJean misses the tackle. He is a little flashy at times, Yeah, and obviously they're going to go for 2. There's no way they're not. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? It's still 2 points if you don't. A field goal puts you in the same spot. This is what we're talking about. This is the Commanders team. We didn't know if they were going to be able to win with this recipe against this Philly team. In motion. Daniels looking. Eckler. Cut down. Pushed out of bounds by the Philly defense behind the line of scrimmage. But that's okay. You still went into the end zone on that possession, which is what you needed to do. You're back in a field goal game. You've got momentum on your side. And like we're saying, the formula of them winning these, as much as it is an offensive team, it felt like this game they were going to need to win in that way. They were going to need to have a defensive moment and stop Philly's offense. They were going to need to have a special teams play and do something crazy, something momentum turning. Because we knew the Philly defense was going to make it difficult for the Philly. Like we said, I mean, we didn't know. There was a world of possibilities for what could have happened in this game. But it was like the Philly defense is good, so that would be a very likely thing for the Commanders' offense to at least have a portion of the game. Like, if they come out in the second half and they're like, Jay Daniels is like, I'm dialed in now. I figured this all out. We're good to go. We're going to put up 21 points in the second half. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at that world at all. I'm just saying that the fact that the Commanders' offense is adjusting to this Phillies defense is obviously also not surprising, but they were going to need some of those outside plays to kind of win. And they've gotten those in this first half here, and now they're in distance. So now we're back. Now we're back. Okay, Barkley can have a big play again. Barkley, we didn't want him to just, Barkley. We don't want him to put up 60 on the Commanders team in NBA terms and just utter blowout. This game's gonna be annihilated. Again, we gotta get our money's worth, chat. A great Barkley performance would be our money's worth, but unfortunately, not everybody watching this game is a Philly fan. So we're gonna need it. We're gonna need entertainment value more than just success of the Philly team. So I guess if Barkley was just having, jukes and hurdles and maybe typical Saquon stuff, then obviously there's a riveting version of it. But Philly can be a little slower as well too, like we're saying. So I would have banked on the ugly version of them, like being like, oh, now Philly just hasn't had a drive where they haven't been stopped, and now they're at like 30 points, 35, and it starts getting ugly. But like we're saying, that's obviously not the case at this point. And the Commanders haven't even really run the ball either. What was that? Robinson at 7 for 22 so far. Have they even given Eckler a carry? 7 carries as well too. They're trying. Eckler 2 for 5. Yeah, 12 for 39 so far as a team. 7 for 70 if you're Philly. 2 touchdowns. Their longest run is 7. So this is gonna be Jaden Daniels putting this team on his back and making plays. And like we're saying, the defense having to get some stops, the special teams maybe making some plays as well too. But offensively, this is going to be Jaden Daniels carrying this team, chat. This is going to be in a potential ascend right to the top of the league right away moment. And I guess we kind of already talked about his comparisons for rookies in the greater sports world as well too, just not for the NFL. But the fact that we could actually be watching it, like those other guys we were talking about, like Magic, we didn't actually see Magic. We could talk about Magic and be like, well, Magic was also a guy that won the Finals MVP in his rookie year, and he, is Jaden Daniels going to win the Super Bowl MVP? Like, we can say that stuff, but at the end of the day, I didn't actually see Magic as a rookie enter the league and then immediately dominate. Like, this is crazy. Jaden Daniels, what have we done? The jealousy is setting back in. Honestly, looking up his age and remembering the fact that he's like as old as Mahomes was in his second year. It's like, okay, the fact that he sped up his progression a little bit is probably not. It's like a little more tolerable as a team. As the Colts also have a young quarterback who, make no mistake, is not putting up the Jaden Daniels numbers. As you all know, we're not in the conference championship game on the other side, trying to make the Super Bowl with our even second-year quarterback in his technical rookie season because he got hurt last year. Devontae Smith, end around. And have they gone away from Barkley just a little bit? Just a smidge? Again, it's not the it's the NFC Championship game. It's almost throw everything out on the line. But I guess second half of this game, if you're looking the next potential 6 quarters, like after this quarter, the next 6 quarters of football potentially have to be just Saquon is awesome. And not, Saquon's getting everything. Up the middle, the Commanders' defense, the interior of that line is playing well. Johnny Newton, shout out. Oh, are they losing linemen? We're losing recipes. Linemen are going down. Shout out Michael Irvin. We didn't mean to. That was like a teetering, like, is the voice? Are we going to do the voice? Something with the knee. Oh, Dickerson. But Newton has been kind of underrated as a rookie as well, too. I mean, he's slid in the draft. He was like a top end of the first round guy, going into the college football season, then for a lot of it. And then, a lot of the defensive line stuff, rightfully so, shook out. Like Verse ended up being the second, like Verse and Murphy and all these guys are really good. Like Latu is still really awesome. But Murphy's making plays here at the conference championship game level against Saquon Barkley, an MVP level candidate. Against one of the best offensive lines in the league. Frankie Louvu from the Panthers. And this is another strong formation. Jalen Hurts dropping back to pass out of under center. What were we seeing from him under center? I guess it was the play action element. There was a play that we saw from this season, like from a couple of weeks ago, that was Jalen Hurts taking a. Somebody posted this on Instagram, and it was just Jalen Hurts taking a snap under center, just dropping straight back to pass. And it said that that was the first time in his career that he had ever taken a snap under center, and there was no play action, which is crazy. They just ran play action there, and it's almost like the pick and roll now in the NBA, where it just is. It's still like the dangerous thing that it is, where it can shift the defense, but it also can become this thing where it's just like you almost become blind to it. You're like, play action, they're just running it, you know? It's like how some quarterbacks have the pre-snap. Like in Madden, you could buy like the pre-snap movements for your quarterback. You know, do you want the hit with the leg raise? You know, are you going to get like a little side-to-side ordeal? But like he's got like a post-snap, I'm just always handing the ball off. That's his post-snap emote, play action. His natural start to his throwing move is just a play action. And that's, I think, the first time. Is that the first time they've run an option? At least it's the first time that Hurts has kept it. Ooh, Kendrick, Super Bowl halftime chat. I forget, you get so intent, you get so caught up in the football that it's like, yeah, we're a couple weeks away from, you know, the first big music moment of the year. Kendrick, I guess, shout out to Central C and Lil Baby. But this is a different level. I mean, Kendrick at the Super Bowl. The hottest artist in the biggest moment. They always say this. And, you know, the last couple, like, they got The Weeknd a couple of years ago as he was doing album promo. But it really does vary one way or the other. Because, you know, to get like, there is only, like, 7, 8 modern people that you could pick to even do the Super Bowl, you know? And we're talking, like, I guess that's probably a little too short of a list. But here, can I like pull up the Spotify streamer rankings? But you have to just obviously have a certain level of reach as a mainstream person if you're going to be doing the Super Bowl. And I guess, you know, especially hip hop as well too. Like, how many hip hop people could even do the Super Bowl and have that kind of show outside of the legends of the people that have already done it in the past? Like, you know, is it have to be Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, where it's like all these years of the accumulative popularity sort of growing? So yeah, right now Kendrick is 12th on Spotify. So you've got your top, I wonder how far down this list you could go. So you got Bruno Mars, The Weeknd, Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, Bad Bunny, Rihanna, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, SZA, Bieber, Kendrick, David Guetta, Drake, Eminem is your top 15. And, you know, some of them have already done it. Like Coldplay's done a Super Bowl. You know, like we said, The Weeknd did it. Bruno Mars, I guess, was also at a Super Bowl as well. But, you know, I don't think Coldplay's... Did they retire? Or are they going to retire? I thought I heard something about that. So I don't know, like, what their technical, like, active status is. You know, like, same with Lady Gaga. Like, you know, I'm not trying to retire Lady Gaga, but wasn't her, like, is she still dropping music in the same way? She's obviously doing the acting career sort of thing. So it's, are you getting a pop star at the peak of their pop star powers, you know? Lady Gaga is 3rd right now on Spotify. Is it still that Bruno Mars song, Just Carrying? Did she drop a new joint? Is there new Gaga for the rotation? Oh, let's see. I don't know why we're going to Bruno Mars' page to search Gaga, because we know that Mars is... Well, Gaga's a star on her own, too. It's not like she needs Mars to be on the top of the charts, but that's definitely going to help. That's the Durant-Steph Curry combo in terms of a charts situation. And I guess, I don't know, you know, we're not too locked in on the Gaga career not from a music standpoint, obviously. The acting career, we'll get behind. Pause. Unfortunately, you know, I don't know if Fale Adu is going to make the rewatchability, but she'll continue to be in good projects. I have faith in Gaga. We believe. But yeah, like when was even her last real album here? There's some singles. There's a lot of like soundtrack stuff. There's a deluxe in 2021. It's a Tony Bennett Gaga collab album. I actually just got a reel of watching Gaga asking Tony Bennett to sing Fly Me to the Moon when he was like 95 years old. She's like, Tony Bennett, do you know the name of your 7th grandson? And he's like, I only have 4 grandchildren. She's like, no, actually you have 10. And then can you sing Fly Me to the Moon? And then he just like knocks it right out real quick. And it's like, yeah, the man loves what he loves, you know? I guess 2021, I guess, you know, shout out Tony Bennett as well too. Rest in peace. But 2021, she dropped an album. Dawn of Chromatica. Born This Way, 10th anniversary in 2021. Couple of singles. So yeah, you know, like where do you put her anyways? Like, you know, she can now go out there and drop a couple singles with Bruno Mars and be a top streaming charting artist. There's the catalog as well too that's going to carry the streaming number. But is she actively one of the artists at the peak of their powers, you know? Again, she could do the Super Bowl, but we're saying like who is actively at the peak but also capable of catering to this large of a mainstream audience. Like, so we got Drake and Eminem at 15. 16 through 20 would be Sabrina Carpenter. Is it Rose? Post Malone, Ed Sheeran, and Travis Scott at 20. Like Travis Scott is close. Travis Scott and Dua Lipa 2021. Like that's definitely would cater to the younger audience. Are the adults in the room, quote unquote, like is the other are the mom and dad generation going to be locked in on the Travis Scott? Like I feel like the parents know Kendrick now, and Kendrick's been around a little bit as well. Like Kendrick, you know, had the 2012 drop. Like Good Kid, Mad City, so ingrained in the culture, I think at this point that everybody kind of knows his music, at least those songs. Like, come on, Chad, if you haven't heard Swimming Pools at some point in your life, it's like you probably haven't been outside. But, or, you know, not like us in last year. But, you know, you start going down as well, too. Like, Kanye at his peak, if everything was obviously in line, like, could do like, Kanye has the catalog and the star power to do a Super Bowl. If, you know, he had the relationships to be able to pull that off. If he wasn't beefing with Jay-Z still. But, like, you know, Beyonce at 30 could do the Super Bowl, the 30th most streamed. Like, you know, you start going down the list. Like, could Elton John do a Super Bowl? Tyler? Like, Tyler couldn't. Tyler's not quite on the level of Super Bowl, I think. Like, Wayne at 51 is close. Like, is Wayne, you know, everybody's saying that, you know, from a hip-hop standpoint, again, Wayne has definitely earned the label of being one of the guys that could do it. And hip-hop is big enough as well, too. Like, maybe you could just, it's the type of genre where you could just take the top guy out of the genre and just assume that he's going to be that popular. Because, again, that's pop music. You know, you're just going to take the top pop star, and it's just, there's a certain level of popularity there that is, you know, that there's just going to be a wide reach. But I guess especially since you bring in SZA as well now, like, that's going to become really crazy because, you know, she really is now, of course, being pushed in the Super Bowl way as a co-headliner. Because we were theorizing about that when that announcement first dropped, and it was almost like it wasn't even like a theory. It's just like, is there going to be an announcement of him bringing out SZA? It's like, how's that going to go? Like, how many songs is she going to be out there? Where it's like, there's no way you don't bring out SZA if you have the capability to do that. But now it's like, yeah, you know, she's going to be a part of the performance, and with her role in the album and with the tour, I mean, you know, it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, do we even dip into some other, you know, I guess we'll talk more about the Super Bowl halftime when we get there. We've got a minute 50 left in this first half with Philly in a 3rd and 13. We've got more time to worry about the Super Bowl halftime. We've got important football to watch. We've got Philly trying to make this a little more difficult for the Commanders going into halftime. And again, Philly trying to double up here. End of the possession. Hurts on the run. Throwing it to Devontae Smith in the end zone. It goes incomplete, but I think we're going to get a pass interference on Washington. Brown in the corner are chirping. Did you read that in your book, A.J. Brown? Start fights? Inner excellence? Start talking to the cornerbacks on the other team? Is that chapter 1? Let them know who's the man? I thought Jalen Hurts was going to get it. Smith should have had that, to be honest. I guess the defender is, grabbing at him, and maybe that's not going to help make that catch. But no, that's through Smith's hands. That should have been a touchdown. It's going to be ball on the 1 probably, right? Because this is pass interference in the end zone. But that should have been a touchdown as well. Costly mistake by the Commanders defense to put it in the end zone too. I guess, it'd be spot foul even if it was in like the 5 or something. But now it's just going to be tush push. Do you give Barkley his 3rd touchdown just cuz? Nope, they're not even hiding it. It's tush push all the way. Hurts under center. Oh! Yo! I feel like that's a pause almost, that tush push. That was crazy. Oh, and A.J. Brown continuing to show his personal growth, his inner excellence. Somebody get the book back out for A.J. Brown. The self-help, it clearly only lasts about 6 days because the next week it's worn off. What book was he reading this week? Art of War? Something by Machiavelli? Who knows, chat? Oh, and it's Lattimore. We forgot they had Lattimore. The in-season trade for Lattimore, it's been good for him this game. A.J. Brown has not done a lot, but he's getting him worked up, and Marshawn Lattimore been known to be thrown out of a game or time or two, so if he's playing well, you can't lose him doing something stupid. You can't lose him to an ejection. Oh, what are we doing? Helmets are off? Throwing hands? Has Lattimore never been in a big moment before? You can't cost your team, buddy. You've got teammates. There's other guys counting on you. There's a fan base behind you. This is the first play that Dan Snyder sat at home and actually liked. Which I don't know if you guys saw that report as well too, but in a shocking turn of events, apparently there was an ESPN article that said that Dan Snyder, not thrilled about the fact that the Commanders are winning this year. Which I didn't actually go through and read that article, but makes a lot of sense. The fact that he's mad about it as well too, like kind of does that even make it a little bit better? Like if he was indifferent, I mean obviously that would make it worse, right? If you were just walking around going, "Wait, Dan Snyder just screwed us over for 20 years and then doesn't even care." Just walks away and just cold blood, doesn't even care. It's like, well, this is what you get. You put the Washington Commanders fans through hell for 20 plus years. When they win for the next 20 plus years with Jane Daniels, they're going to be putting you through hell, buddy, because you're going, why couldn't I have had this guy? Well, because you weren't in a position as a management, as an organization to be able to even nurture this kind of talent. Like we saw what happened with RG3, but would you have even made this move? Like Drake May would have been a great player, chat. Drake May is a great player. Drake May have even have had a better season on this Commanders team than the Patriots team. This Commanders team is a better team than the Patriots team. I'm very confident you never know. But I can say I feel like it's not a hot take to say that Drake May would not have the Washington Commanders in the NFC title game. I don't think that's a hot take. And I know that they're at different spots in their careers. But again, this is just kind of the right move for everything. Because the way they spent as well too, like the fact that they actually had a plan and was all in one accord, like that's very apparent to be like, hey, we got an older quarterback, like we can actually, let's go out and spend and get some older guys. Like we can build a team a little bit more win now because our quarterback has more win now. We don't have a project developmental guy like Drake May who may need to take a year or two, but if they had gone that route, like that just wouldn't be the season. In the fact that, it's like they spent the money with the older guys. They were like, let's take the older quarterback. Now the NFC is a little bit clearer. Now we have some momentum. The division's down. Now we're in the playoffs. Now we're in the NFC title game. Detroit's making some dumb plays on the other side. And then things just end up working out. Like Dan Snyder just didn't have his ducks in a row, to make isn't that what they say about like success is like preparation meets opportunity or something like that. Like you just know with Dan Snyder's organization, like even if they had the opportunity to take a guy like Jane Daniels, they just wouldn't have been prepared to either take him or deal with having a talent like that in the organization. Again, outside of like the couple of seasons that they had with RG3, where they were able to turn some stuff around. And to be honest, like, you know, they bring in Mike Shanahan as well too through that time. Like, and those teams, it's not like they were Super Bowl contending teams. Like, it was a fun team that, you know, was contending for. Did they win the division? Were they a wild card team? Like, I don't even think they won the division that year. But it's like, you know, they became a fun team more so than a team that is on the verge of potentially making, and, you know, if they make the Super Bowl, who knows? Like, they're in the NFC title game competing. Like, it's a team that is on the verge of winning the Super Bowl this year. Like, Dan Snyder never had a team anything close to that whatsoever. There was no team ever, I think, in the Commanders' history under Dan Snyder where we looked at him and went, oh, that's kind of a feisty team, you know? We never once did that. I don't remember exactly which year he took over. I want to say it was sometime in the mid to late 90s. But let me see. Here's some of their most recent teams. Because what do we like, the Jason Campbell run? If we're Commanders fans, shout out to the real ones who remember the Jason Campbell days. But yeah, 10-6 in 2012 was their last 10-win season before this season in 2024. They won 10 games in 2005. That was the second year they brought Joe Gibbs back. They also had Mark Brunell, Clinton Portis, Santana Moss. So again, like 10-6, both of those seasons are the best seasons. 10-6 in 1999. So they went 14-2 and won the Super Bowl in 1991, and then 9-7 in 1992. So we know Dan Snyder at least took over after 1992. So under Dan Snyder, they had literally 3 10-win seasons. And yeah, again, that team with RG3 was more fun than it was like competitive. Like, it could have definitely been competitive if obviously RG3 continued to stay healthy and develop as a player. But regardless, you know, he wasn't even building a team that could overachieve, you know? Like, there was no preparedness, and they were not either taking advantage of the opportunities, and they were just not allowing themselves to even have opportunities as well too. But they got the quarterback. They spent the money in the right places. They got the right coach. And now they're back on track. Oh, did they just turn the ball over? I was just rambling, chat. Oh, no. What just happened? Philly has the ball inside the Commanders' 25. A fumble on the first play of the next drive? 2 fumbles? On the kickoff. McNichols. So they're going to look back at this season and go, De'Ame Brown and Jeremy McNichols cost us the game. That's tough. In some ways, it's that Mahomes, you know, at least it wasn't Mahomes, it was D Ford. But in some ways, you want to, you know, rely on the strengths and weaknesses of your best player. Hurts on the scramble, takes it into the end zone. There's a flag on the play. Maybe that's our one saving grace. Oh, man. Holding on the offense. Sorry, Philly, but you can't dominate yet. If you get the win, I mean, congratulations to you, but you can't win in a dominating fashion. You can't be walking around with your chest puffed out going, we're the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, you're already going to have enough confidence just being back in the Super Bowl anyways. We can't see a confidence based on a good performance. I mean, you can't even have good plays without holdings. Get out of here, Philly. What are we doing? Landon Dickerson probably struggling to keep up ever since he twisted his knee earlier. This is the only way he can stay in the game. He's just got to start grabbing onto jerseys. At least it's only 2nd and 10. Didn't put him in like a 2nd and 20 situation. The Hurts run, the fact that was such a good run, at least it's just reset the play. Pressure. Luvu again up the middle. Hurts avoiding. So at least if you're able to send a blitz, it's like Hurts is rattled. I mean, obviously in the second half, they're going to have to start Spags dialing up that pressure a little bit. You know, send a guy. Let's get Hurts moving. Let's get Hurts off his rhythm. Unfortunately, again, with Philly getting the ball to start the second half, they could be in a position to be ahead of their game plan, you know? Be able to run the ball a lot, be able to control the clock, not have to rely on Hurts. This may be the last drive where you really have to start hoping that Hurts is going to make plays. Because they're in field goal range as well, too. So you go up by 11 here. You know, you have field goal on the other end of the next drive. You 2 scores potentially. Still 2 touchdowns. On 3rd and down, the check down to Barkley. He gets blasted out of bounds. Pause. Oh! Is that Sandstrom? Please say that wasn't Sandstrom. It was Sandstrom, the Michigan man. They teach you better than that at Michigan. Barkley out of bounds. Gets leveled by Sandstrom. Oh, man. Another costly play. It's now becoming self-inflicted wounds for the Commanders, chat. The fumble, the penalty. At least you could hold them to a field goal. Uh-oh. Commanders fans, you're slowly losing the deserve this game status. The we're happy to see all-win status. These are some tough plays. Some avoidable mistakes, some things that could be happening. Great play by Philly to get the fumbles and stuff like that, but I mean, if it's slippery right now, chat, let's prioritize security over maybe some extra yards, over hit stick. You know, that ball security rating goes down in the hit stick. Maybe we just need to prioritize just keep getting the yardage that we have, you know? Oh, man, 2nd and goal. Barkley about to score his 3rd touchdown. What's the touchdown record for a championship game? Is Barkley... I mean, is he on pace for an historic performance here? He has to be in some ways. I know his total yardage has settled down since that first play. What honestly has he been since that first play? He was, what, like 70 yards on that one rush? I guess whatever his longest here shows up. Pause. 60 yards? So since then, he's been 7 for 15. So they have played good defense on Barkley outside of the biggest play of the season, literally. Unfortunately, you know, one of the most costly things. But they've been containing him. It hasn't been tragic. 2nd and goal, 47 seconds. Commanders, oh, they don't... One timeout? So they could take a timeout here, force a 3rd and goal. They're not going to have a lot of time when they get the ball back, potentially. Again, they stop Barkley up the middle. Timeout, 43 seconds. Philly's going to be able to take this last play. Unless they pass it for some reason. But if you're Philly, you can't do that, right? Run the football. It's the thing that works for you. To be honest, like if you're Philly, do you do the crazy thing here and do you try to just go for the touchdown? You have a couple of timeouts. 2 tush pushes. Can the Commanders really stop 2 tush pushes from here? And then you go up 28-12. And then you get the ball to start the second half. Now, maybe they get the ball, obviously. Strengthens your confidence. Let's just take the points because we know we're not going to have to stop the Commanders next. But to really drive it home, chat. Like, you know, if you're going to put the axe in the chest of Thanos, like, you better at least just cut him in half, you know? It's going to have to be aggressive. Pause. 3rd and goal. Jalen Hurts in the gun. Oh, it's a touchdown. A.J. Brown. I was going to say, why would you throw it there? Sirianni, what are we doing? But it's because you have A.J. Brown talking and chirping with Sandstrom, probably being like, this is my time. Let me show this guy what's up. Hopefully that wasn't Sandstrom on the other side. Again, it was Sandstrom. I mean, with all due respect, that's a tough matchup. Sandstrom definitely has the toughness and ability of an outside corner, but he's not a physical matchup for A.J. Brown. So at least if you're Washington, you're going to have a possession here at the end of the half. Your offense hasn't been able to do much, and it probably won't go anywhere. You have no timeouts. So they're going to throw a pass in the middle of the field. It's going to be like a 2-play drive. But at least you give yourself an opportunity. Again, like we're saying with Dan Snyder, no opportunities. But Philly throws a pass, 1-play score there on 3rd down. Oh, man, and a replay of the fumble on the kickoff. McNichols just head on, pause. The collision. So that, at the end of the day, puts them in the same spot that we were saying. If they were to go for 2 scores, I guess, anyways. Like, that would have been the point of going for 2 scores, was to be up 27-12 and not necessarily try to time it perfectly to get in the end zone with 0 seconds left. So accomplish that. You'll get the ball to start the second half and potentially go up 35-12 here. And just be this is what we're saying. Just kind of creep into 30 points almost. I mean, they're almost doing it in the second half, but it is because of a couple Commanders turnovers. Like, that'll be the unfortunate and the encouraging part of this game if you're a Commanders fan long term is, yes, they were unforced errors, but also they were unforced errors. So a couple of these guys are around under contracts. You know, like we're saying, they just brought in Luvu. Some of the young defensive line talent is there. You know, Jaden Daniels, they'll be able to add some pieces on offense. Like, this team should get better next year. This is not a team that caught fire and is playing really well just this one season, obviously. This is a young team that can definitely build on this performance. But watching this game, it's like if they were playing a clean game, they could definitely be winning. They could be winning this game if it was a clean game. They've had 2 drives, 3 drives, whatever. Stop short because of some dumb turnovers. They had that other drive, the just stay alive because of the penalty. So if they were actually playing a clean, perfect game. And, you know, the signs of the best teams, it's like we can still play kind of a little bit of a sloppy game and win, obviously. It's just we're that talented. But with the position the Commanders are in right now, they can play well enough to win this game. They're just not quite playing well enough, unfortunately. Unfortunately, Jeremy McNichols will be being waived. Jeremy McNichols will just have to be on Zillow after this game looking for new apartments because, unfortunately, he will just not be returning to the Commanders. He fumbled the kickoff in the NFC title game, and he's Jeremy McNichols. I don't know if the Commander fans what kind of investment they're going to have in him being a long-term part of the unit, but he does get the first camera shot right out of the halftime or the TV timeout from the score. So 39 seconds left if they just take a knee here. If they don't chew up any clock on the kickoff, which they will do. We'll see if Jade Daniels can pull off a miracle chat. A rare miracle to cut it to 12 at halftime. Can he get a field goal on the points? Field goal on the board? Make this 15-27? Again, back in that 2-touchdown range, though, would be hanging in their territory. It would be, at least we're keeping it interesting in that sort of range, the scoring chart. If we had to tier up all the different scoring ranges, the one that the 14 points would be in would be like, you know, keeping it interesting. In the mix. Hanging around. Maybe something will happen. Just wait and see. Maybe it's just in the just wait and see category. 3 yards. It's going to be tough for them to move the ball. Empty set. Here we go. Dropping back. Are we going to get... Oh, just again, underneath. Short. This isn't college. The clock's just going to keep running. And maybe that is something that situationally, it's like... Oh, is that a offsides? Philly charging, the defensive line charging through, making contact with the offensive line, but I don't know who draw who off. Who draw who? I think Carter is responsible. Philly throwing the pause. Philly helping out Washington a little bit. Jalen Carter, you've been playing so well. What are you doing? I don't know if he was just trying to time that correctly or if he just thought he had to have just thought he saw movement. Because it was a very intentional, like, I'm taking out the center to try to draw, because I thought he's drawing me off sides, you know? But that's just not the case. Pause, maybe, but not pause, excuse. I don't know if that burp just went through on the mic, but maybe he thought he was just going to anticipate the snap perfectly on that count. So clock stop as well, too, is big. That's essentially a free play, you know, 5 yards and a clock stoppage. Now we're a good out route away from field goal territory. Uh-oh, he's got a guy underneath middle of the field. Jaden Daniels taking off, going to the sideline. Get out of bounds, Jaden. He gets out of bounds. I think they're in field goal range. They may be in scoring range. They might be right across half field. They're definitely not in Jake Elliott's field goal range. What is Tressway's field goal range? Oh, he's at the 34. Getting out of bounds. What do we got? 1 play, 2 plays, maybe? Timeout, Philly. Sirianni slowing it down. Making sure everybody is settled. Making sure Jalen Carter knows to stay put until the snap. Here we go. This is what we're saying. This will be a drive that maybe the game is for, maybe in the bigger picture doesn't look like it means a lot, but this is like, they need Jaden Daniels to just do something to, like we're saying, just stay in the mix of this game. Yes, they're still going to need to get a stop on the other side, and they're still going to need to make sure that Philly doesn't score and that it doesn't get too far down the field that way. But Jaden Daniels keeping the offense in scoring range going into second half. It's just one of those little things. It's like Jaden Daniels clutch time and time again. They need a drive. They're getting a drive. 13 seconds left. Ball in the 35. Jaden Daniels in the gun. Trips to the left. Trips to the right. Sorry. Underneath. Oh, Ertz. Is that a former teammate? Ertz absorbs the tackle. Lets the people know. So with 6 seconds left, we have to be seeing the field goal unit. Yeah. Good play. Taking the underneath thing. Getting out of bounds. A couple more yards. Tressway. Let's not pull any Jake Elliott's here. This isn't the Steelers stadium. You should still be able to make them in Philly. Is there a wind tunnel right around the goal line like there is in Pittsburgh? Oh, final timeout for Philly. Icing the kicker to end the first half. You rarely see it, but you may as well. 6 seconds. Luckily, the Philly clock operator. This is not a 6-second play. In Washington, this is definitely like a 4-second play, but in Philly, this field goal will be a 6-second field goal. Definitely. What are we looking for attempt-wise? Like 30, 40 plus yards? 42? So at 42 yards, it should be like, yeah, 4 or 5. There should be a kickoff after this, but not in Philly. That clock operator will run this whole thing down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Right down the middle. 2, 1. Oh, 2 seconds to Philly clock operator. Being honest, you love to see it. That would have been a tough one to kind of sneak past because that would have been pretty obvious. So Philly will get a kick return or a squib attempt. The clutchness of Tressway. This is the Chiefs recipe. Just get points on the board. Unfortunately, they also get stops. But I don't know what Tressway's political views are, but they have their Harrison Butker. Tressway, that could definitely be like an Amish name or something. He could definitely be a little old school with some of his views. You never know. 2 seconds. Hopefully we're not in disaster territory for the Commanders. Do we get a lateral play by Philly? Trickery? Wizardry? Magic, chat? The return goes... Oh, just slides right into the ground. Takes the knee and takes the lead going into halftime. 15-27. Wow. Okay, so like we said, the Commanders hanging around, but they're going to have to stop inflicting the wounds. Like, Barkley, they're containing. Brown's number looks good, but 4 receptions, he could be running all over him right now. At least, he's only on pace for 120 yards, but they should still be in the mix. Unfortunately, those couple of turnovers were killer, but we'll see if they're able to clean it up here in the second half, chat. Let's take a quick break, and then we will be back with the second half of Commanders versus the Eagles right after this. Might be kind of outperforming a little bit Jaden Daniels. You know, it's close. It's not outperforming, but he is playing solid anyways. Are we disconnected? Are we back in? Some connection issues here, chat. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. I think we're good to go. Do we get a? Let's get a live line update here real quick for the old Commanders versus Eagles game, and maybe we'll look at some parlay options too for this game later tonight. I don't know if I should hedge my bets emotionally and just bet some of the Buffalo stuff. And then if Mahomes goes down, it's like, hey, you know what? It's not our guy. It's not our team. He got the back-to-back titles. At the end of the day, it's like, you know, he's still Pat Mahomes. We're still, our feelings from 2016 are still validated. And, you know, you win some money on it as well too by some of these Josh Allen things hitting correctly. But right now the line is 12.5, so Vegas is not expecting the Commanders to do much in the second half. Don't even expect them to close the gap any. Plus 630 on the money line. So if there's any true Jaden Daniels believers in the chat, put your money where your mouth is, and maybe you could, you know, have a little extra in the grocery budget for the next couple of weeks. 6-1, you know. Get the nice cheese from the deli counter this week. Get the good barbecue sauce. Who knows, chat? But Buffalo is plus 108 later tonight. It's just a tempting thing. And they going into Kansas City is tough as well, too. We did like Buffalo. At the end of the day, it was like, I think I'm going to end up going Buffalo because they're at home. And it's like, this is a tough one. And if it's a tough game like this, picking the home team is never a bad move. What's this new build parlays your way? Open your way? It's just they just give you new ways to build parlays. They're always trying to trick you into using the parlay builder because they know the parlays. They know you're never going to win a parlay. They never hit. You're going to stick too many legs in it, you know, 2 to 3, and you're going to throw a, you know, Rashee Rice touchdown in here, and he's not even playing in the game. And they're like, well, easy money. We're going to win that one right away. So just always sneaky ways to try to, but no, we don't need these crafty parlay builders. I'm good with just going through every individual category and searching through the odds. I need the degenerate filters. There should be a filter that says, there should just be two versions of the app. It's like, are you using FanDuel as a casual or are you using it as a degenerate? And then when I log in, it's like, no, I just want to log in the degenerate version. I want all the stats, all the numbers. I don't need some tricky, who do you think's going to have more receiving yards, Travis Kelce or Xavier Worthy? Well, if you think it's Travis Kelce, click this one. Oh, and you think Josh Allen's also going to have a rushing touchdown as well, too? Like, why wouldn't he? Put this one in the parlay. Like, no, I can think of losing parlays myself, FanDuel. I don't need your help. I can go through this myself and pick my own bad legs. Pause. Keon Coleman. Are we thinking anything Keon Coleman tonight? Xavier Worthy is not looking too bad either. I could see, what do we got? Xavier Worthy at 60 yards is plus 136. 50 yards minus 132. What do we get on the receptions for Xavier Worthy tonight? Over 4.5. Under 4.5 is plus 114, to be honest. That looks pretty tempting. Could Xavier Worthy be at 4 receptions tonight? I could definitely see it. I could definitely see like 3 on the first drive, and then it's just like, where did Xavier Worthy go? Oh, there's that big third down late in the game. But Keon Coleman over 1.5 receptions. Amari Cooper over 1.5 receptions. Shakir over 5.5. Amari Cooper over 1.5 receptions. I guess, if he has McDuffie on him, that's going to be a brutal matchup. But you're telling me he needs 2 catches? Amari Cooper, 3+ catches is plus 240? I mean, again, not the same Amari Cooper that we're used to, but still a good enough player to, I think, get 3 catches in a playoff game. At plus 240. DeAndre Hopkins, plus 3 catches is plus 132? Uh-oh. So let's just maybe hype it. Let's just put this DeAndre Hopkins plus 3 receptions at plus 132 in this leg, chat. That doesn't seem too bad. That doesn't seem too crazy. 2 receptions is minus 240. But if it goes to 3, he's plus 132. I could see Mahomes needing DeAndre Hopkins a couple of times in this game. Yeah? No? Bills corners, Bills secondaries, do we trust them to lock down these Chiefs receivers? Player to record a 30+ yard reception. Is there one with the rush? Could we get like a weird Xavier Worthy longest rush type thing? Is there any? Oh, they don't have the 30, 20, like the 10, 20, 30 yarders props for the rushing. Why not? These are the legs I'd be looking for. And the fact that they're less likely means why not give them to me so I can lose? Xavier Worthy, over 60 total yards, minus 110. Over 50 total yards, minus 170. Rushing, receiving. Xavier Worthy, 50 yards tonight. Is it a high usage Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins game? We can always take a leg out. We can always shuffle this around. Let's keep an eye on this Xavier Worthy 50+ combined rushing receiving yards. That's like that's a 10-yard rush and a 20-yard catch, a 15-yard catch and a couple of 10-yard rushes, I could see him getting to 50 yards tonight. Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown? What is that? What are our anytime touchdown scores? Plus 155. I maybe want a little bit more juice on that for Kareem Hunt. Maybe if it was in the plus 170s, we'd be eyeing it. Marquise Brown plus 280 anytime touchdown scores. I mean, we all know that if we throw an anytime touchdown score in here, that's going to kill this parlay. That's going to be the one that doesn't hit. So we may as well just go all out and say Samaje Perine anytime touchdown plus 850. Justin Watson anytime touchdown 18-1. I feel like we have to do that as a side bet just because you never know. The Justin Watson 40-yard reception, you just have to chuck it in there. And maybe we'd bet Justin Watson over 40 receiving yards instead. But you always think of him getting that, like, again, that moderate deep shot pause sort of down the field over the defense touchdown. Mahomes drops it in there. He walks in the last, 5-10 yards. Josh Allen to have 2 rushing touchdowns, 5-1. What is he? He's got to be minus for a rushing touchdown, minus 125. I would rather bet him to get 2 rushing touchdowns than 1, as crazy as that seems. Just because I feel like he would have a monster rushing game versus, I don't know. I just think it would be like the one time they get down that close, it'd be like, oh, well, we just gave it to James Cook that time. Trying to get cute or something, and he got the touchdown. Is there an injury? Oh, Gainwell get clobbered? Shout out to Gainwell. Waiver wire stud. A real guy that, if it's like, I'm in a pinch, who do I need in fantasy? Old Kenny Gainwell. Let me go just lock in those 8 points for the week. We need a new category for like the 8-point MVPs in fantasy. Because there's some 8 points where it's like, you know, it's like, oh man, this guy only got me 8. Zay Flowers only gets me 8 points again. And then there's, like we're saying, the time where it's like, I have no options. Can I just get 8 points from somebody? I need desperately to just have some sort of production. And it's like, oh, Kenny Gainwell. He may have like a 20-yard reception and a couple of runs, a touchdown. So shout out, man. Hopefully he's okay. Walking off the field's a good sign, obviously. Hurts keeps it. He's not going to get anywhere. The Commanders' run defense has stepped up, chat. It's stepping up. We've seen time and time again that teams to start the second half not have momentum. As much as it is an advantage to have 2 drives in a row, the lack of momentum, I mean, we saw it in that Ohio State game. It was the one time the Notre defense actually made a play. Was the opening drive of, wait, am I thinking of the right game? Probably not. 2nd and 12. Hurts, he doesn't see the pressure. He doesn't see the guy off the edge. I don't know who this is. Armstrong, the former Cowboy. Dan Quinn brings him in from his team. Oh, quick off the edge, chat. Tackle doesn't even barely get hands on him. Hurts never saw him. I think Hurts thought that Mulata was going to get to him. I think he might have thought that Mulata had an angle on him and was going to run him off course, but he gets around the edge and makes the sack. 3rd and 19, so here we go. The Commanders' defense is making a play. Just make a tackle. Get off the field. There we go. Force a punt. Negate that double drive advantage. Get the ball back, and let's make this a 1-score game. Now that field goal again at the end of the first becomes important. Fourth and 10. Is this Eckler on the return? Just McNichols? Don't put McNichols back there. Don't fumble it, whoever you are. No more unforced errors. Clean it up. Everybody play with just a nice common sense head on your shoulders for this second half, you know? Ball security is a priority. Let's not get any dumb penalties. Let's just play good, clean football and just keep executing these plays, because if they do, we kind of have it working. Especially now that we have the stop as well, too, that kind of neutral, that puts us, doesn't necessarily break serve, they're down 2 scores, but puts them back in position to do that a little bit. Pause. At least not all hope is lost, like we're saying. Sunday afternoon nap time, chat. Make no mistake, this is not just a studio setup. This couch, there's been several naps on this couch. A couple of night sleeps too, chat. But, you know, definitely great napping couch. Top 10 napping couches. That'll be a summer pod that we'll do. Top 10 places to take a nap. Maybe we'll do that at some point. Blind rank sleeping places. Next time Sam's on, who knows? This couch though would make a strong push. The Jaden Daniel of couches. This is like the Saquon Barkley of couches. Versatile. Been around for a little bit. Maybe. No, it's always been in a good situation. So I guess not necessarily Saquon Barkley, but regardless. We need to see if they're able to get Barkley going in the second half. Who would have thought we would have been saying that after that first play? But the sacks, the Jalen Hurts keeping it on the read there as well too. Like that's not necessarily a non-Barkley play call, but regardless, you're still giving, it's still an option play. So maybe less option plays in the second half. You know, maybe it's just like, hey, it's all Barkley. Barkley needs it. And he's still kind of at a low pace right now as well too. He was at like 9 carries in that first half. So I guess the second half the second half load would be a little bit bigger, but he's still on like a 20 pace carry. I don't know. He needs to be 25, 26 at least, I think, for this one. At least overall touches as well, too. If he's not, 30 touches in this game, you would expect with some receiving. 23 and 7. Like, would that be the worst thing in the world? Again, maybe Kenny Gainwell steals a couple of those receptions, but should you have, like, if you're going to use Kenny Gainwell, like, let's use Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, I guess he's, unfortunately, probably in the blue tent right now still with the flashlight. But if you're going to use these other running backs, like, get them some receptions. Let's use them in the pass game. They were using Kenny Gainwell in the pass game as well, too. So, you got to be at, like, 35 touches for your running backs, maybe. Pause. Right now, well, Daniels has the ball, so he's at 24 pass attempts. Like we said, their run game's not doing anything. Oh, no. Philly getting the sack. It's 3rd and long. Oh, Jordan Davis. Just rotate. It's an LSU showdown here in the NFC. Who would have thought the NFC would have just become the SEC at some point? But you've got Georgia on the Philly side. You've got LSU with Jaden Daniels. It's all the same players. Did Jalen Carter actually play against Jaden Daniels in the SEC? I don't know if they... Maybe one season there before Daniels won the Heisman. But he was obviously at Arizona State there a couple years. So I don't know if he actually played against that great, defensive Georgia team that makes up this Phillies defense now. And they're going to get the stop. They're going to get the punt. 4th and 13. Killer stuff. Howie Roseman. He's got playmakers all over this defense. And it's been a different guy every time. A different guy is making a play. Carter has made a pressure. Jordan Davis has made a pressure. Zach Bond had a fumble. I forget who had the fumble, who forced the fumble on McNichols, but you got a special teams guy making a play now. It's not just one defensive player wrecking the game. It's the defense is a unit. Everybody's playing well. Everybody's contributing. Everybody's making plays. That's the Lions, like we're saying, they were kind of, they were their reliance on one guy was a lot higher than some of these other teams. They had Hutchinson, and they were able to perform without Hutchinson, and their defense definitely continued to get injured, even once he was out as well too. Like, it definitely got even a little bit worse. But still, like, their defense was at its best when it's a close game and Hutchinson is just able to make these game-wrecking plays at the end of the game. Like, Philly, you just have your rotation of guys and your depth, and you know that somebody out there is just going to make a play at the end of the game. And you have guys actually getting pressure, getting to the quarterback, getting sacks, chat. Oh, we need some action. We need some downfield pass. We need some offense. Defensive football apparently gives us the yawns. It doesn't mean it's not good football. It's just, it's just a little more laid back football. It's a little more, puts you into, you just kind of start drifting off football. It's just drift off football. It's, 3rd and 3 again. 3rd and 7. Another run. Jordan Davis up the middle. Well, there's a sack. Hey, there's an exciting play. Oh, back to 3 and out. 3 and out. 3 and out. 3 and out. Hey! It's just a vicious cycle, chat, of staying awake in these second halves of these defensive games. But regardless, hopefully we won't have that problem tonight with Bills Chiefs. The anxiety of seeing if Mahomes is just this whole run, the 3rd Super Bowl, can a team actually do it? Like, are we going to actually see a team, are we going to actually make it as a country to the Super Bowl? Like, there's just a lot of anticipation, around this time to see if Kansas City will actually be able to make this three-peat. So, it's like the fandom laps around the block, chat. I guess there's not a lot of laps right now because it's cold outside, but a lot of pacing around the room. Just being like, well, you know, if Mahomes does have the last possession, then I do have the confidence. And it's like, well, they still have Chris Jones. And, you know, I heard they were like, that's the thing. I heard that the Bills were a zone team as well, too. And, you know, if you're playing zone against Kelsey and Mahomes, that's just a brutal scheme defensively, because they're going to pick that apart. And, you know, if you're going to man up against these guys, do you have one guy that can man up against Kelsey? Or are you going to just 2 or 3 guys his direction and just focus on solely taking him out? But, you know, maybe then that leaves yourself susceptible to the big Worthy game, and maybe Mahomes has a big game creating with his legs or something in that scenario. Who knows? But, like I say, I'm just trying to run through all the scenarios in my head. That's why you kind of look at some of the odds as well, too, just to see what they're thinking from an individual player standpoint as well. Let's see if I can pull some of these back up. It's a lot easier to look in the app sometimes than it is online, because you have to log in so much. Bro, obviously I don't care about my money. I'm on a gambling site. Just leave me logged in. Just as long as you have to log in to, like, see the actual, you know, bank information and stuff. McLaurin to catch. Oh, I forgot that you can, like, live bet the drives and stuff. Right now for the Commanders, they have this has to be behind. I guess for the next drive we can bet some of the stuff. So, like, McLaurin plus 105 to have a catch in the next drive. That's not bad. Plus odds? Oh, man. It's a good thing I haven't logged on in these games too. It's a good thing we've been doing the live streams have honestly been a save for the pocketbook, because we're not just live betting these games. But, 2025, we're just going to turn into a live betting. It's just going to be like watching us day trade lines live during some of these games. Oh, we can't even watch. Now it's disgusting. Philly versus Kansas City. I mean, is it the Super Bowl we need but not the one we want? You know, I don't know if that's the scenario, but maybe it's the one we're going to end up getting. Philly doubling up Washington at this point. Hurts scrambling, tucking and running. They haven't necessarily had the best, you know, second level run defense today. Once the players have sort of broken out, they've definitely gotten into the secondary quite a bit. But here, let me actually get into the Bills-Chiefs game for tonight. For some reason, I'm having a hard time navigating the site, chat. How do I just log into Bills-Chiefs? No, see, this is the Parlay Hub. Oh, I guess we could check the Parlay Hub. Is there anything interesting? Mahomes plus 250, James Cook plus 50, Shakir plus 50 in a Kelsey or Allen touchdown. That's an interesting one to put in the bet slip. Plus 455. Not the whole thing, but what are the odds on that Kelsey and or Allen touchdown? Maybe that's a keeper for the... We're just going to randomly build this into like an 8-leg parlay. 9 legs. Minus 320. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a parlay leg for sure. But we'll keep an eye on that one. I mean, Kelsey or Allen, it's minus 320. It's a pretty sure thing that you would think one of them would find the end zone. Kincaid over 32.5 receiving yards. Worthy over 5 receptions. I don't know. Kareem Hunt plus 5 rushing yards in the first quarter. James Cook, same thing as well. Could James Cook have 5 rush yards in the first quarter, chat? I think they'll want to establish not using Josh Allen too much too early, right? First drive. Wait, how do we get back to the first quarter props? I lost my first quarter props. Here we go. Oh, yeah, and we could go full first, second, thirds. First quarter, not anytime touchdown scorer, but they don't just have the individual. Is it in the rushing stats? For first quarter rush yards? Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, first quarter rush yards on... We're in the weeds now, chat. This is live degeneracy. This is live us descending into madness as we sift through first quarter alternate rushing lines for people like Isaiah Pacheco, James Cook. James Cook, first quarter rushing plus receiving yards? 18.5? Ooh, it is a little rich. That's a little rich, I'm not going to lie. Highlighting another great Barkley block as well, too, on the Fox broadcast right now. I guess, yeah, it is turning into an ugly game, so we'll just quickly shift our attention to this parlay builder. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Let us know, chat, what legs you had in your parlays today. Are you guys hitting? Were you guys taking the Commanders, you know, in a betting sense? They were saying the line was moving in favor of Philly, so it seemed like the gamblers were really trying to capitalize on any potential narratives that might be swaying things positive for the Commanders' way. But the market believed in Philly, and it looks like for good reason. Wait, that's the first quarter total. I want first quarter alt. Here we go. James Cook at 5 yards, minus 600, but we could chuck it in there. See, now it's minus 600. It's a little too sure. If that was a minus in the minus 320, minus 400 type range. Well, we'll put it in the slip just to keep an eye on it. So a Kelsey or Allen anytime touchdown and James Cook 5 first quarter rush yards minus 185. Okay. Okay, this is not turning into something bad. Ray Davis? What if it's like a weird Ray Davis game? Defense. We should look at some defensive stuff here. And I know some of this stuff is tough with the same game parlays. Ooh. Ooh. You could put the sack props in the parlay builders now. I don't think you could have done that before. Oh, what just happened to Jalen Carter? Was that Jalen Carter that just went down? I thought I saw 98. Oh, man. The live cut to commercial and the quick pivot into Kai Cenat and Snoop Dogg. Chat, what happened there? Man. Sirianni out on the field? Is it concussion or broken bone or something? Pause. I'm not sure. So, man, hopefully Jalen Carter is okay. We'll definitely, prayers with Jalen Carter right now. But just as we, move on here, chat, to the, I guess, our parlay that we're trying to build. But Karlaftis to have a sack at plus 162 is interesting. Chris Jones plus 144. I do kind of like Karlaftis a little bit more. Just because that focus is going to be so heavy on Chris Jones. And I feel like Karlaftis is maybe a slightly more likely to run down Josh Allen as well, too, than Chris Jones. So, do we dare risk a Karlaftis sack for the same game parlay? Well, again, keep it in the bet slip for now. But player to record an interception. Oh, the defensive player to record an interception. These ones you can't parlay in. Which, if you can parlay the sacks but not parlay, maybe this is the one that we're mad that you couldn't parlay in. We're always going to be mad that the ones that you can't parlay in, you can't parlay in. But, like, what's the difference between me putting in Trent McDuffie at plus 600 to have a interception in this same game parlay than Karlaftis at plus 160 whatever to have the same game parlay as well? Rasul Douglas plus 650. DeMar Hamlin 8-1. Bernard is 11-1. Benford plus 750 is not bad. Defensive player, anytime touchdown scorer. Nick Bolton plus 60,000. 60 to 1. That one might be interesting. Kicker props, Harrison Butker. Oh, we can't parlay these in. Total kicking points over 7.5, so that's field goals and extra points combined. Ooh, if we could parlay that one, that would be interesting. And Daniels finds him Ertz down the field, so they just they bring it right back to without knowing what's going on with Jalen Carter. So, man, hopefully everything's okay there. But as much as, you hate to talk about the on-field impact immediately about, an injury that takes place like that, a potentially serious injury, that is going to potentially make things interesting now from a pressure standpoint. Again, the front of Philly was making it difficult here for Jayden Daniels to operate. I guess, we're not... I already blanked that last Philly touchdown out of my mind, so... It is 34-15 now. Philly's going to be operating with just a little bit of a different mindset anyways. But second half, would that be like a big Mahomes half? That could be a potentially just grind it out as well too. Slow it down. Second half total points. Over under 12.5 for Kansas City. So Buffalo, both of them right now, their over-under for second half points is at 12.5. I mean, you could definitely see Kansas City in a game where it's like 17-14 at halftime maybe, and then the game ends up being 23-28, and the second half is just a little bit more lower scoring than the first half. What's their first half over-unders right now? And I'm just a sucker for plus odds. Daniels tucking and running. So we may get a drive here. This will make, if they did score a touchdown, they could make it 22-34 and bring it back to 2 scores. But we're already kind of winding down the third quarter here. In a 3-score game. I mean, you're definitely going to need to cut it to 2 scores by the end of the... Well, they should definitely get it by... But I would kind of almost hope to have the ball back as well, too, before the fourth quarter goes. If you could be down by 2 scores with the ball going into the fourth quarter, that would be, I think, best case scenario right now. 2nd and 3, Philly defense holds strong on the run, so at least they force a 3rd down. And it's 4-down territory. There's no... Is Dan Quinn going to do the Mike Tomlin or the Marcus Freeman? And but, is he going to just settle for a field goal down 3 scores? Just not be aggressive. Buffalo over under 12.5 points in the first half. Same with Kansas City. But I guess this could also be... And Daniels does get in for the score. 2 scores. We get a little touchdown dance from Jayden Daniels. Okay, buddy. Okay, we get it. It's a big deal. NFC title game. You're a rookie, but... Scoreboard. Check the scoreboard. The pitch option on the cutback? Okay, so that was a good run. It deserves a dance. That was a good move. Definitely had the defender on skates right now. So do you think it's going to be low scoring first half, high scoring second half, or vice versa, chat? Is it going to be 3-0, 3-3? Or is it going to be the epic showdown early on? Here's a 2-point attempt. The option again. Jayden Daniels finds his man. It's Zacchaeus. They cut it to 11. Okay. It's still 2 touchdowns, but it's not as desperate as maybe you thought a couple of seconds ago, going, holy cow, this game is starting to get out of hand. The aggressiveness from Dan Quinn, keeping things alive. But let's see here. Did they play in 2022? No, did they not? They played in 2021 at all? They did, and that would have been the this would have been the game. So we know the fourth quarter of that game was the dramatic slugfest battle. But did they play in the regular season this year? The Chiefs and the Bills might have played in the 2022 regular season. I feel like they almost would have had to as a rematch of that game. The greatest playoff game of all time, the greatest quarterback matchup in the playoffs of all time. They're not going to run it back in the regular season immediately after. I doubt it. Definitely chalk that one up. Yeah, week 6. They lost 24-20. So was this second half slugfest too? 10-10 in the second quarter, and then it was 14-10 in the second half. So a little bit more scoring in the second than the first. Not quite as dramatic, obviously, as the first matchup in the playoffs there. But at least still keeps in line. And then last year in the divisional round, 27-24. I think this was more first half, though, right? Again, big second quarter. 3-3 in the first, 10-14 in the second, and then in the second half it was 14-7. And Kansas City ended up winning the game. So maybe we go like some second quarter props, chat? Back into the weeds. Let's just go straight back into the grassy plains of FanDuel and see what's going on here. Second quarter spread. Kansas City -1.5 plus 130. Okay. Again, we know it's been close. Over 15.5 in the second quarter spread. That's both teams combined. And again, they've been over 20 in a couple of the last matchups. So let's just put that one again in the parlay right now. This is shaping up to be a very interesting parlay that is probably going to end up being too chaotic to hit. I mean, once we go like 7 or 8 of these legs, or obviously we're immediately counting ourselves out. Once we get to the fact that we're just going to do a leg for every quarter. Third quarter, Kansas City -138. What about fourth quarter? Fourth quarter spread, Kansas City -1.5 plus 132. For Kansas City to win the fourth quarter by 2 points plus odds is very, very interesting to look at. Fourth quarter winner straight up. We can't parlay that one. Ooh, Bills favored in the fourth quarter right now. Not favored for the game, but for the fourth quarter anyways. If they win that one. Hopefully it's not a blowout, and that was just garbage time. But -106 to -114. Okay, let's just go back through the... Oh, no, these aren't the pre-made parlays. Do they have the specials, though? Each team to score 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown in each half is 100-1. To be honest, as a little sprinkle, as a tiny dab of a sprinkle, as of like was that a sprinkle or did a bird just pee on me? It's like you can't even distinguish the difference. Like we may just a whiff on that one. Who knows? Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes each to record 15 plus passing yards in each quarter, -140. Huh? Josh Allen and Mahomes to each have 30 passing yards in a quarter, plus 390. Is not bad. Is there any Taylor Swift props on here, chat? Travis Kelce over 60 yards and Taylor Swift over 60.5 cuts to in the booth, you know? And now that Caitlin Clark is going to be there, it's going to get crazy, chat. The internet's going to go insane. Oh, Devontae Smith, 3rd and 5. The catch and run. Travis Kelce, Dalton Kincaid, and Xavier Worthy to each record 5+ receiving yards in each quarter? That's a little too much, maybe. Plus 140 is 140 to 1. Excuse, is not bad, but Xavier Worthy, 5 receiving yards in each quarter, I don't think is going to happen. I think he's going to have a couple of 0 quarters in there. Kincaid and Kelce, though, maybe. But I like them sneaking Worthy in there. Because you could definitely have more than 20 yards, more than 5 yards worth in each quarter. But to get to literally 5 yards in each quarter, I think he's going to have a couple of slow possessions. It's going to be kind of hit or miss. Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes to combine for 500 pass yards and 4 touchdowns. Do they get to 250 each? Mahomes has been at like 170. And again, we may have like 4 drives in this next game. It may just be a drive a quarter for each team. Oh, Hurts. He's spinning around right now. He has no idea where he's going. The dizziness. I don't even know if he was throwing the ball out of bounds or if he just made himself dizzy there, chat, and just chucked it away. We'll never know. But we'll assume he just threw it away because it does work out for the greater good. James Cook, Kareem Hunt, and Travis Kelce to combine for 4+ touchdowns, 50 to 1. 15 to 1. That's not bad. That's worth a sprinkle. Again, none of these are something you can put into a same game parlay, like they're already parlays themselves. But as specials, those are not bad. Barkley on the toss. That's like his best run since that run. Getting to the outside, setting up an easy 3rd down. Where are those pre-made parlays? Here we go. What are the people saying, chat? Again, what is the vibe? What is the consensus of the nation? Do we want the consensus of the nation? I don't know, but for some of these same game parlay options, I think it might be good to just take a look and just see. Just because, you may see everything and scan every category, but you don't always think to put this in, to look in there. Again, like with the first quarter stuff, it's like, oh, I didn't actually realize that the odds were that on that. Like, could we go Kelce, like maybe Kelce 4th quarter receiving yards, Kelce 2nd half receiving yards could be really interesting. We know in big moments that that's going to be the combination that the Chiefs are going to rely on to want to try to win this. Okay, Commanders, here we go, chat. 4th and 8, they're getting a stop. Will Philly go for the fake punt like the Commanders did earlier? It's interesting range for it. Now, going to boot it deep. Beautiful kick. Beautiful job of tapping it out of the end zone. I don't know if they stepped on the line. Did they step on the line? I think it's going to be a touchback, chat. Commanders are going to get the ball in decent field position. So much for that. Might have as well have just attempted a fake punt at that point. But we could also look at like some of the Mahomes scrambling stuff as well too. Is interesting to look at. I wonder what that live line has moved for the Commanders as well. We get a win probability update. Still 89.2%. Okay. Okay. Is it going to be historic? I mean, this is going to be a historic comeback if they pull it off, obviously. Down 3 scores. But what was it at its peak there? Oh, it did get to 95. Okay. It did get up to the high 95.8. 95.9 is the highest it's been so far. So back up to 90. Oh, DeJean or Blankenship. Sorry, we can't get our white safety straight. Blankenship forces the incompletion. Was that a fumble? No, just a tackle. Okay. And see, now you're looking at Jane Daniels' numbers and going, wait a second. He's 29 of 29, 203, no picks. He has a touchdown. They have a chance on this drive to be down 1 score. I mean, is he playing a good game? And you're like, he is. It accumulates into a good game. Like, that's the thing with Mahomes that we know over time, right? Is the accumulation of good plays and the lack of mistakes is going to ultimately be enough to win. And that's what we're seeing with Jaden Daniels time and time again in these games. We just don't have the same history, obviously, that we do with Pat Mahomes. But he is efficient. Oh, big drop from Ertz. 3rd and 10. That would have at least made it 3rd and manageable. If not, he's able to pick up the first down there. But you go, he's efficient, even if they're not, again, the offense is not cooking. He is still not turning it over. He's still, when there's an opportunity, making a play. He's taking what the defense is giving him, and the defense is doing a good job of swarming and containing and all that stuff. But over time, second half, keep him in range. Defense is going to crack. Defense is going to get tired. He's going to continue to read. He's going to continue to make the right plays. And on 3rd and 10 here, he has a chance to extend the drive and finds Ertz again in the middle of the field. Ertz on the quick little in route across the middle, and Daniels fires it in. Pause. The sliding catch by Ertz. I mean, that fumble again, chat, on the last play, like, even though it was after the play and, you know, kind of delayed, like, the ball security, come on, what are we doing, Commanders? Let's lock in. Oh, no! Speaking of ball security! Speaking of fumbles, Philly's ball, chat. Oh, the Commanders say they come up with it. The Commanders' offensive line has it. Both refs signaled Philly, but a Commanders' offensive lineman has walked out of the pile with the football. Regardless, I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. Is that Eckler? Now it's Eckler. Oh, another great punch out by another Philly defender. Is that Nakobe Dean? Did they give the ball back to Washington? I mean, is it Biadasz? I'm just making a noise. I'm not even saying a guy's name. Whatever offensive lineman that was that just had that, like, did kind of come away with it, but it doesn't matter. 1st and 10, Philly. Right when you think the Commanders are just, I mean, this is not on Jaden Daniels. At the end of the day, this is not on Jaden Daniels, man. Right when you think Philly has, right when you think they're starting to let him back in the game, right when you think maybe this is the drive where things get interesting and the Commanders are starting to move the ball a little bit, like, now we're finally getting it back in it. Just another self-inflicted wound. A.J. Brown skirting down the sideline for the first down. Man, chap, that's probably the killer turnover for Washington. Wait, who was that forced that fumble? I didn't see. They just showed the replay, but I was just staring blankly because I was just seeing the end. Shout out to the Commanders, man. Down 11 going into the 4th. Okay, wait, we need to just take a quick break because I need to adjust the room temperature real quick. But we'll be right back, I guess, to watch this 4th quarter. Watch the Eagles fans watch their team make it to the Super Bowl. Okay, Chad, I think I figured it out. The heater was just set on like a normal fan mode, but now we got it cooking. Trying to keep up with the winter conditions. Maybe we could send a little of the, well, the Commanders, you know, they need to heat up a little bit too, Chad. But they do need to get a stop here on Philly first. Philly's back in scoring range. Oh, no. Just run the ball and put us out of our misery. Just give it to Barkley. Get him some stats. Make us feel good about him picking a new team, jumping over from New York. I mean, what's the biggest just upgrade season in NFL history, chat? What is the most a player has benefited from a move? From one season, like who are the big all-pros, you know, after one season to jump over and win a Super Bowl with their first team? Is there anybody Super Bowl? Is Revis? Maybe Darrelle Revis is one that jumps to mind. With the Pats, did he win a Super Bowl in his first season with the Pats? Let me think here. Oh, Barkley down to the 1. Oh, yikes, chat. The domination. They're inching closer to driving the final nail in the coffin, chat, for the Commanders early in the fourth quarter. But Revis, yeah, he was in New England that one year, 2014, and yeah, they did win the Super Bowl that year. So Revis would be a good example. But again, the Jets were obviously not the Patriots, but with the way him and the defense were playing, like the Jets were still a successful team. He was still in conference championship game, both those conference championship games in 09 and 010, or in 9 and 10 with New York. So, I mean, Barkley, what did he had? He just had the one playoff game against Minnesota before this, right? Because it's been him and Daniel Jones basically this entire time up until this year. So I guess, yeah, they did actually. I forgot they won that Minnesota game somehow. Kirk Cousins, shout out, just another playoff catastrophe. But Barkley in the playoffs before this had 18 carries for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns over the course of 2 games. And let me see, was Daniel Jones also in the 2018 draft? Was it Saquon and Daniel Jones? No, he might have been the next year, 2019. Or was he 17? Oh, the Philly or Washington defense just crashing through the defensive line. Offsides. 2019 draft. Let's see. That would have been Lamar. Yeah, Jones was also in this draft as well, too. So, outside of his rookie year, he's had Daniel Jones as his quarterback his entire career. So, who else jumped to a team in one season and made a Super Bowl, chat? Do we need to just take a quick scan through the All-Pro teams? This is live research, chat. Live trying to figure this out. But with as disastrous as the Giants organization was, and even, I mean, that playoff win was like kind of bad for him because it was like, oh, wait a second, now we've locked down Daniel Jones. Now we've signed our guy to a big quarterback contract. And we kind of know that the upside to a team that he is on is capped out. But now that we're actually seeing him in a situation where he can be impactful and we're seeing his impact in full effect, like, it's just another name that is added to that running back case, chat. Like, let's be honest. The running back case is not weak at this point. I know at the end of the day, the value and the price and all that stuff, like, am I sitting here saying that running backs should be making, I mean, everybody should make $30 million a year, but, you know, am I sitting here saying that running backs should be on the same level of pay as receivers? Like, I get there is still differences in the value of the position and to how much you can invest in your payroll into these various things, but just the idea that you have to totally write off the running back position, which, I mean, I can be honest, like a couple of years ago would have been a place that I would have totally have been in. And, you know, at the end of the day, like if your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, then, or, you know, then yeah, maybe you can write off the running back position and just bring in Kareem Hunt and just make it work. But, you know, for these other teams, and, you know, Josh Allen as well, too, able to carry his element of the Bills run game, but they're still able to have a good run game with James Cook and with Ray Davis, you know, now emerging. But James Cook is like a Pro Bowl talent running back in his own right. I guess we should have thought, but like another running back as well, too, Christian McCaffrey. Just a couple of years ago, yeah, him jumping to the Niners mid-season. Maybe, see, you'd want to say Derrick Henry to the Ravens ideally, but unfortunately the Ravens lost to the Bills and they're out of the playoffs early. And again, Henry's team was in the conference championship game, the old franchise that he was on. Jalen Hurts, the tush push. Is that 2 touchdowns for Jalen? 2 touchdowns for Jalen, 2 touchdowns for Saquon. 4 for the run game. You hate to see it if you're not a Philly fan. You really do. I guess that Tampa Bay team forgetting Tom Brady, you know, the whole team didn't get a new team, but they did in a sense get a new team. They got put into kind of a different stratosphere. You know, Tyreek Hill had the opposite that of leaving Kansas City, going to Miami. Yeah, Chad, I don't know if this is going to be a viable option to just sit here and scroll through all the teams, but obviously, just in terms of moves in general for free agent success, like this has got to be one of the best ones. One of the best non-quarterback free agent moves. And, you know, even with a guy like Eric Dickerson, like, was he signed in free agent just to continue our Eric Dickerson, Saquon Barkley comps? I mean, it just shows you where Saquon's at, too, getting now comped to legends like this, of course. But, let me see here. Him in the playoffs. Oh, I guess we already... His rookie season, very similar, actually. 33 carries, 115 yards. His second season, yeah, 23 carries, 107, a touchdown. 85, 294, and 2 touchdowns that year. And then, of course, ends up, yeah, in Indy in 87. Leads the league in rushing again in 88 with 1,659 yards. And he also puts on 14 touchdowns with that. But he was also, yeah, traded to Indy as well, too. I don't remember what for, and it doesn't say here. Unfortunately, they don't have the trade details for the 1987 Eric Dickerson trade from the Colts to the Rams, which should be a notable enough trade that I feel like you'd want to throw the details on that one. How do we not have those readily available? But that wasn't necessarily like a move that we were talking about as well, too. I don't know. I don't remember exactly why we brought up Eric Dickerson or whatever. But, you know, with Barkley making the Super Bowl as well, too. Yeah, with the case of the running backs, you know, continuing to be strong as impact guys that impact winning. And again, we saw it with McCaffrey last year with this Niners team emerging the way they did. But this is another year as well, too, where you could argue that the 2 best, like, offensive players in the league are making the Super Bowl. And you can kind of make that case depending on whoever wins in the AFC. Like, if Mahomes wins, then, yeah, obviously Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And if Allen wins, then it's like, yeah, this season, you know, Allen was outplaying everybody, obviously. But on the other side, Saquon is going to be the other guy on the, you know, the third guy on the MVP ballot this year, I think, and had the 2,000-yard rushing season. And it turns out his impact just directly as a player is maybe as valuable as these other guys and just a little bit higher than we thought. Like, how would you do the MVP now after watching this game, chat? And who knows what happens tonight? If Josh Allen is bad tonight, like Lamar lost to Josh Allen in the playoff game and he wasn't necessarily fantastic, and then Josh Allen loses to Mahomes and he's not fantastic. Like, yeah, you go, oh, well, obviously Mahomes is MVP, but with the way Saquon played, would you give Saquon the MVP of the league? Would it be more viable for non-quarterbacks to win if you actually let the playoffs play out, which is counterintuitive because you think the playoffs are such a quarterback sport, and at the end of the day, the quarterbacks are the ones we remember, so you just assume that dictates everything. But again, even if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, like, it doesn't necessarily matter for that. So 1st and 10, I guess the Commanders, there's really no point in hoping. It's just entertainment at this point. It's just, will Jane Daniels not throw a pick, What do the stats look like? Oh, chat. What will the nap look like after this? Who knows? There's not going to be any napping during, maybe a quick one first couple. See, I feel like you can't even miss the first drives for these next games. It's all important. Everything, every moment's going to be like waiting for a turnover, waiting for a mistake, waiting for a bad play. Just in general as well, too, I feel like this was the most I anticipated a conference championship weekend in quite a while. I know, you get a team like the Chiefs, it's just they're in it every year, so the stakes continue to rise every year that they're in it. But with the NFC side as well, too, like Lions versus Niners was pretty intense, with the Lions having their historic stuff on the line of potentially making a Super Bowl. But, is it quite, I don't know, just something about Jaden Daniels emerging the way he did. There was something about Jaden Daniels emergence that was like even a little bit more up there over the Lions, just revitalizing as a franchise. And then who did the Rams play the year that they made the Super Bowl in the conference championship? Did they play Philly? Oh, they did play the Niners that year. So the Niners and the Chiefs are both kind of, of course the Niners not so much this year, but the Niners there, it's like, yeah, we kind of expect them to be in this position. So I don't know how much we were necessarily anticipating the actual games themselves, and just again, like we're saying, with how these two guys are meeting at this point in history, and with what's on the line, it's really special. I mean, Manning and Brady never had this scenario with, I want to say, Brady going three in a row on the line. Let's see, chat. Let's look up the Patriots. Did Manning ever keep Brady from winning 3 Super Bowls in a row? He obviously, I think, has a winning record versus Brady in the playoffs, which is like a sneaky little fact that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Obviously, you think Brady over everybody in it. You think of him over Manning specifically, unfortunately, for Colts fans and Broncos fans. But Manning does actually have a winning record versus Brady in the playoffs. I think he's 3-2 versus Brady. Oh, incomplete, chat. Trying to at least, again, keep some respect on the field in these last couple of drives. Give the Commanders fans something to look forward to going into next year, if you already haven't done that enough. But yeah, what were we looking at for the Colts for Belichick? So 2002, so they won 3 out of 4 in that early run, and then in 2002 they didn't even make the playoffs. They went 9-7. So I think that would have been the first Brady as a full starter type season. 16-0, led the league in touchdowns that year. 28, 14 picks. On the other end is, of course, a little high for Tom Brady. Daniels throws a dangerous pass at Slay, and Slay almost picks it off. He's had a couple of gifts today, chat. A couple of ones defenders definitely could have gotten. They did not play Indy. in 2002 in the regular season, and obviously didn't play him in the playoffs because they didn't make it. So that rivalry had not started yet. So I don't think Manning ever necessarily blocked him directly from going 3 in a row. I guess they won 2 in a row and then lost the divisional round in 2005, but I don't think that was to the Colts. I think that was to the Steelers in 2005. Because, again, they won 3 out of 4, so they won 1, didn't win 1, but then those back-to-back 2. So the next year after that could have potentially been the 3rd in a row. And, oh, they lost to the Broncos that year. Unfortunately, in our Manning conversation, Manning was not on the Broncos at that point. This does not go on his winning resume for that. It goes for Jake Plummer's 197 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Mike Anderson in the backfield, 16 for 69 and 2 touchdowns. Shout out. For the Broncos, again, Corey Dillon and Brady. For the Pats. Sort of later depleting version of that team. So it was Jake Plummer that stopped Brady, not Manning. And then they won 3 out of 5. Again, they're in the end of at the end of the teens. So they won the Super Bowl in 14, and then in 15 lost the championship game. Would that have been to Denver? That was to Denver. And that would have been the year that Denver lost the Super Bowl. Or that would have been the year they won the Super Bowl, sorry, I think, to Seattle. I think they lost in like 12 or 13. When the snap went over Manning's head on like the first play of the game. So they did win the Super Bowl the next year after that in 2016 as well, too. So I guess if Manning doesn't beat Brady in the playoffs that year, they could potentially have won 3 in a row. And they lost Super Bowl the year after that to Philly and then went back to the Super Bowl again the year after that. So that goes to prove just what the Chiefs are looking at for this run. It's like they've made the conference title game. It just shows you how historic it is, making just the conference title game and then just the other side of that, making the Super Bowl every single year. But to win it every single year, Chet, to see the 3 bowls in a row would be historic. I don't even know how we would process that. Third and 4. I mean, if there's any hope for Philly, or for Washington, it's a pick 6 here. Oh. It's a fumble attempt, return for a touchdown. It's Jalen Hurts just forgetting which team he plays for and running into the opposite end zone. Oh, up the sideline. That's another flag. That has to be. There's no way. Chin gets away with it. Oh, there it is. I was going to say, shout it if he does. I'm not mad if he does because it gets the ball back to the Commanders. But at the end of the day, that's pretty egregious. You got to make the call there. Again, just putting Philly right on the goal line. Another tush-push touchdown. Have all of their tush-push touchdowns been set up because of field goals? I mean, they're going to get to 50 potentially, chat. Who would have predicted Philly putting up 50 on this team, you know? Just, it really has been the Commanders moving the ball down the field as much for Philly as it has been themselves. Unfortunately, we may see a defensive coordinator opening on Indeed.com for the Commanders after this game. I know Dan Quinn's involved with the defense, but whoever is sort of the next guy there, I don't know if they got rid of the... Do they have an actual defensive coordinator because of Dan Quinn? I assume they still do, right? They're not flying blind there. Let's see. With the stability they've implemented, they would be giving Dan Quinn total power. Is that what you're telling me? Those two things seem to be a little bit separate. It seems like you bring Dan Quinn in and be like, hey, do these, like, couple of things. Like, you coach the team. But, let's see. 2nd and goal. It's Barkley. Deja vu from earlier. With an extra point, it has a chance to be 48-23. Like we're saying, there's 8 minutes left. They could definitely get to 50. Incredible. Defensive coordinator, John Pagano, senior defensive assistant. Ken Norton is the linebackers coach. Yeah. Those are the two notable assistants. Oh, here we go. Defensive coordinator Joe Witt is the defensive coordinator. His wit is expiring in this game. Cornerback coach for the Packers for a run, then moved to the defensive pass game coordinator, and then defensive backs coach the last several years with the Browns, Falcons, Cowboys, and then moving to the Commanders in the defensive coordinator position. So shout out to Joe Witt. Best of luck to you as we head into the offseason. After giving up 50 points to the Eagles offense, we will just see what happens with that team. Only allowed 319 points this year, which is their lowest since 2011, 2012, that year they made the playoffs. So I guess 343 in 2022, actually. A couple of 300 years in the mix. Okay, just of course the last couple years been really, really bad. But yeah, did we finish saying enough for the best on you would have Barkley on one side, the other best offensive player in the league, the best non-quarterback in the league, versus whichever quarterback is playing better. Because that's what's going to win this game, right? Is whichever quarterback plays better. And I think it's going to be more so importantly the vice versa of that. Is there a mistake made on the other end? Is somebody take a sack they shouldn't? Obviously a pick, a fumble, something bad like that. But it's going to be a slow game. The Chiefs won the last game where Mahomes had 177 pass yards and Travis Kelce had 117 of those yards. So it is the defense gets stops and Mahomes and Kelce get scores when they need to, and they drive out these possessions. And the defense can also give them a short field a lot of the times as well, too, like we're seeing with the Eagles today. So it's not like Mahomes is having these long drives, opportunities to put up these massive numbers. But regardless, they're slowing it down. And you know the Bills are going to want to slow it down because they're going to want to limit what the Chiefs are going to do. And then as we near the fourth quarter, then near the end of the game, you just know the clock. Trying to run the clock from them is just going to be crazy. Because they're just going to want the game to obviously end, but they're going to want to try to not give that Chiefs that last drive and just try to control it as best as they can to make sure that they're in the position with the football at the end of the game to make the final decision and to, be in a position to get the win. But Kelsey's going to be a big part of it too, like we're saying. Worthy's going to be a big part of it. Which Bills receivers are able to step up, and how the Chiefs are going to be able to maintain and contain Allen. But, I mean, let's be honest. I feel like we think the Chiefs probably can be able to contain Allen better than, at times, maybe the Bills' defense can contain Mahomes. And that would just be the Chiefs' defensive line is so much more talented. But Karlaftis was such a menace in that Texans game. Like, if you even screw up a little bit with your protections and your blocking scheme, then he is going to just destroy your line, chat. He's going to create havoc. Wreck some chaos. So the celebrations have started on the Philly sideline. The daps are going all around. I don't know if they go Gatorade this early. I don't know if I would go with I feel like you'd have to go with some kind of hat or something to cover up like a Gatorade drenching, but you're always wearing a hat anyways as a coach. Make no mistake. Garbage time for Daniels. If you had the daily fantasy for the NFC Championship game, then these are the time to get those extra stats. Is there an alt line for 50 tonight? What was more likely, less than 50 points combined in tonight's game, or Philly scoring 50 points in today's game? And their offense just, even more so than Kansas City. Because Kansas City, like we're saying, their offense finds a way to win. Like Philly just finds a way to keep these drives alive. They're pushing. They're getting into the end zone. They're going forward on 3rd and shorts. Barkley can't be stopped. Like, they're finding a way to continue to get down the field and score points. And this is despite the fact that their field goal kicker can't kick anything. Despite the fact that Jake Elliott is incompetent, chat. And again, they barely needed... The one time we thought they were going to need him, and it was starting to look a little feisty. Starting to look like, uh-oh. This is a moment. Could they use a kick here? In a moment where you lose faith in your guy, you're like, if we have to rely on him later, what are we going to do? But doesn't matter. Only matters for next week. That's the special teams thing we have to watch for next week is the missed field goals by Elliott, not necessarily the fake punt by the Commanders. If the Commanders were in, first quarter fake punt. If the Eagles are in, can Jake Elliott make a kick? Is their field goal kicker gonna be a viable part of the game to where we can game plan in scoring 3 points from these various spots in the field? But Sirianni probably likes being backed into a corner as well too, like we're saying. Pause. He probably likes the option of always having to go for it on 4th downs, going for 2. But he seems to like his kicker at the end of the day. They're keeping Elliott around. They keep trotting him out there. Daniels moving down the sideline, just a little inaccurate. You can see, obviously, the inaccuracies. He's just a little more rattled than in previous games. But rattled Jaden Daniels is still a pretty good player, like we're saying. The mistakes that have been made today are not on him. Like, as we go back and watch the film and pay more attention to the actual performance, we'll be able to maybe actually see what those things were. But just on instant reactions chat, just, sitting here watching with you guys, like, yeah, he took a sack a couple times, I guess. But in terms of throws, yeah, I guess there were a couple of bad throws in there as well, too. So he's had his plays. He's had his ups and downs in this game. But like we're saying, his downs, I feel like they've been more tolerable than a lot of some of the other players' mistakes and some of the other players' low moments as well. But somehow it's already 3rd and 6, and now we're back into he needs to make a play and just create everything for himself territory. Scrambling backwards underneath Ertz. Their ability this year to just have a guy open for the quarterback, underneath is incredible. Pause. It really was the heart of their offense. It's hard to say the check down, but it's like these bailout last second. Oh, and is this an offensive lineman going down, chat? Back pain? He's kind of rubbing at his back a little bit. He's sitting up. They're helping him up. It's old TB, the lineman TB. Beatitz? Not TB12, TB63. What's the diet and workout plan for TB63? I don't know if we'll ever get that on the market at some point, chat. DS2? Darius Slay? Speaking of which, isn't this year the 10th anniversary of DS2? Oh, Jalen Carter with the Reggie White face slap. I think that's why he was grabbing his back. I think he was trying to throw people off the center what happened on that play. But he got punk slapped by Jalen Carter. I don't even know if you can legally do that anymore. But don't see any flags this time. I guess you can do it legally on that play. That was a free play. That was a purge play. They said all shots to the head of offensive linemen. Pause. That's crazy. All contact above the head is legal on this play. So, I mean, is there any chance? What is a touchdown here? Let me really think about this, chat. Oh, man. My calculations and win percentage say that it doesn't really matter if they score a touchdown here. This game might be over. Did we hit 99 yet? Oh, we did it, chat. Pause. Philadelphia has a 99.9% chance to win this game. With 4 minutes left. Is that the soonest it hit? Oh, no, it hit. Was it right after that fumble? Oh, no, it was they got the ball back. Oh, was it intercepted? Jaden Daniels, the garbage time stats aren't even working to his benefit as well. Rookie on rookie crime, Quinyon Mitchell. You thought it would be DeJean, but Mitchell gets a playoff pick. A jump ball to McLaurin. Mitchell. The size, the elevation, and just the general ability to track the ball as well. It's a bobble. It was up in the air. Him and McLaurin both kind of going for it, and he is the one that makes the play. McLaurin, one of the better receivers in the league, and it doesn't matter. Quinyon Mitchell still able to get the turnover. Wow. Only 4.5 minutes left before we can just ignore Philly fans and move on to the rest of the night, chat. Is there a basketball game starting up as well? There's just one random basketball game tonight. I don't even know what the point of having one game is. That almost feels disrespectful. It's like, I think it's like Thunder Blazer or something. But yesterday, of course, totally stacked. Wemby was in France, and then getting another, pretty good LeBron-Steph game. At least a really good LeBron-Steph first half. It looked like we were headed for a LeBron-Steph game, and then Steph kind of cooled off. The Lakers ended up taking that one over. But, an action-packed day of hoops yesterday set us up for absolutely nothing today. So, again, I guess, I was getting Lethal Weapon vibes tonight. I don't know why, but I was sitting around thinking about watching Lethal Weapon because, I know why, because it's Lethal Weapon. It's a great movie to watch, but we dipped back into the new movie pool. I know we've been kind of on this older movie kick as of late. Not necessarily all old movies, but like anything like, really like 2005 would have been really pushing it for as new as we were going to go. Like we were really, trying to, 30, 40 years back is, what do you want to call old? But, just like, again, non-modern, like still kind of getting that, like even up until like maybe 2008, there's still a look to the movies where, you're still in a little bit of a different era, but trying to stay as much of that look as possible. Barkley up the middle. Chase down from behind. Oh, was that not Barkley? Who was that, chat? Well, we know now that it's the Commanders' run defense as much as it was Barkley's performance. Literally just every running back they sub in the first play they have, they just break off these massive runs. Is this a rookie? Who is this guy? Did Saquon even get to 100 yards tonight? Like we were saying, he was a little slow down. He did get to 118. Okay. Shout out. But again, shout out to Washington. 60 of those on the... So outside of that, 14 for 60-ish, on the other end. If 120, if we round up to 120. I guess 14 for 58. I guess we'll do the math, chat. We'll do the quick math. 14 for 58 in the rest of the game. And a touchdown. So not a terrible fantasy day if that was his final stat line. But definitely did most of his damage on that one play. As you'd expect. How come they're just not going to tell you this guy's name? Who just scored? Oh, Shipley? Will Shipley? Former Clemson guy? Shout out. Or I guess, no, he didn't score, did he? He just got it down to the goal line. So now we will see if they cross the 50-point threshold. With a field goal here, I mean, you would assume they would. I mean, do they just go for 4th down? Because why not, right? But you'd assume they cross over. Shipley up the middle. Stopped for a short gain. But to have the overall numbers, I guess, to have the final stat line look good with Barkley, it doesn't matter if it's all on, you know, one play, spread it out, good performance. Like, it's, yeah, 8 yards a carry. He did the damage he needed to do, chat. Don't mind us just being the most nitpicky person to watch a good performance ever. Just sit back and enjoy the greatness of Saquon Barkley. Shipley again stopped, but we'll see where this penalty goes. Yeah, and we're minutes away from Buffalo KC kickoff, chat. Romo and Brady. I mean, can we just get Garoppolo in on Sunday nights for Collinsworth and just the 3 hottest quarterbacks we can think of? Oh, Portland with an early lead up on OKC. Who, of course, the other night, Shea had to put up 50 on him on the Jazz to get past the Jazz. So who knows? OKC struggle bus a little bit. Shea Gilgeous, 4 points so far. Advia cooking the Thunder. I mean, he's like, Sam Presti, just trade for me now. Please, I want to win a title. Save me. I want to be Saquon Barkley. I'm on the Giants right now. Put me on the Eagles. And there's the 50-point game. Will Shipley. Finally getting him some points, too. Kamara decided to take a couple of shots tonight, but, oh, Avia finally missed. 25-footer. He's throwing him up now, chat. Look at the Thunder getting in, get to the basket. Shea Gilgeous, Jalen Hartenstein. Working that paint. Really putting Klingon to the test. See, look at chat. They're already at 36-8. That's what we were saying earlier when they were on that historic pace. We were like, wait a second. They're going to win 73 games? Or like the Cavs, you know? Like, you're going to drop a couple, it feels like, at the end of the season as well. That you know that, as, you know, you really start to pull away from the field. It's just going to happen. 55-23. Barkley, give him the MVP of the game. Hurts. He plays well. Gatorade on Sirianni. The celebration is underway. Oh, they almost missed. Luckily that was a deep bucket of Gatorade. They were able. And no ice too. That's clutch. No ice in that Gatorade. It looked like that was just a full tub of Gatorade. Especially with as cold it is. And you just don't want to get straight ice dumped on you. Like, unless it's for, you know, a challenge of some kind. There you go. The offensive coordinator. You get to smile, call the plays, and not get to be doused with Gatorade at the end. That is actually terrible. I would actually not want that. I mean, obviously you would. I'd pay the small price of Gatorade for winning a title, but it would be an interesting part of it. I guess you get champagne soaked later, so pause. Is that a pause? But that's a little different. Once everybody's involved, you know, then it obviously becomes more acceptable, chat. But if you're the only guy that's walking around out there sticky, pause. Obviously, that's crazy, but you get what we're saying. The Eagles front office has wandered to the sidelines. That's not a good sign. I mean, Roseman's dapping up the linebackers, coaches, and the safety. These guys are actively coaching a game, and he's saying what's up. Doesn't matter. Barkley in a Super Bowl shout out. You love to see your most talented players on the highest stages. So for running back talent, you know, number 2 drafted running back. We haven't had a running back drafted higher than that recently. Like outside of Bijan, who is the highest drafted running back? You know, was it that? I guess McCaffrey would have been the other guy. Melvin Gordon is, you know, I guess a lost top 10 running back that never made a Super Bowl. Zeke. But even Fournette, you know, we got to see Fournette in the Super Bowl. That's like we were saying with the case for some of these guys. It's like even Fournette was a valuable piece to the teams that he was on that made. Fournette was on multiple teams that made conference championship games. Even if he wasn't necessarily the main focal piece, carry the team type of thing. It's like, hey, these running backs with these highly, highly talented running backs are ones that are actually can shift winning and shift the actual destiny of a team. Chat. Like that's always the thing is a running back can't help the team. But no, it's been proven that a running back can shift the destiny of the team. A running back maybe is not going to. But again, a running back can't. Like Peterson did it with the Vikings. Maybe it's more rare. Which, again, maybe makes it more difficult. You know, I don't know how you want to say those two things. But we can see a running back raise the level of a team in all these various ways. If the running back is obviously great enough. But, you know, when we're talking about the great players, we're talking about the great players. And if there's less running backs in the mix, then it is what it is. But we've seen guys like Peterson break out. We've seen now Saquon Barkley be additive to a playoff team and raise the ceiling of that team. We saw what Gibbs and Montgomery did with the Detroit Lions. Like, in the modern NFL, right now, current day, when everybody's devaluing the running backs, excuse us, chat. When everybody is devaluing the running backs and nobody wants to take that position seriously, pause. It's maybe one of the most actual impactful winning positions on the field. You know, and they're all they all play their role at the end of the day, chat. But it's like you can't forget about the running backs. They're just as important as everybody else. Or you need your quarterback to be a running back like Josh Allen, you know. Like Josh Allen is so good that he gets considered a running back. Like that's how important a running back is, I guess, that it makes, you know, Josh Allen just this whole other dangerous type player, if that's the way he plays the game, is also in this whole extra way. So shout out to Saquon, man. You really love to see that for him. Maybe Saquon should have gone to the Commanders. Like now that Dan Snyder is gone, you know, the Commanders do have a little bit of goodwill, I think, amongst the NFL fans. I don't think, you know, Detroit, I could see them having goodwill for a couple of years. Like they've had such a long tenure and been such a disaster that it'll be a while before they're a threat. Like they have to actually establish a multiple different sort of quarterbacks and different teams to be like, okay, the franchise itself is now a threat. Like this team is a threat. Yeah, Goff is good, Campbell's good, the offense, the run game they have is good. If their defense continues to play well without the assistance and they get Hutchinson back, like this version of the team is good. But is the Lions franchise like a terrifying franchise? Like they don't really have that label yet. Like I'm not saying the Commanders are going to be back to being like a terrifying franchise, but they do have a little bit more winning success. And now that Dan Snyder is gone and then being back to just a normal team, like I don't know if there's going to be a 10-year window of this just the beloved team of them of the league. But for this year anyways, you know, I think a lot of people are happy. A lot of people are excited to see. I mean, a lot of people like seeing the newness as well, too, outside of Mahomes, like we're saying. So to get like a double newness where the guy is a rookie but also fresh on the scene at the biggest stage, it's a great thing. So shout out, you know, at the end of the day, it would have been nice to see Jaden Daniels in a Super Bowl as a rookie. But again, as you just continue to progress through these stages, like relying on a rookie maybe to perform, just again, not just from a team or from an entertainment standpoint, is maybe a little wishy-washy too. So it's like Philly with Saquon, we get a guy who had an MVP level season, is at the peak of his powers, one of the best players in the league, going against, on the other end, one of those best players in the league counterparts, whether it be Mahomes or whether it be Josh Allen. But this is the best way for it to turn out. The Commanders, good run into the playoffs. Jaden Daniels shows as much upside as any quarterback in NFL history. And sets this team up nicely to enter the post-Dan Snyder years with a lot of hope. But we get the more established player, the more established team, the more well-balanced team in the big moment to go up against, the powerhouse quarterback that will be facing off against them in the AFC from the other side, which we are just moments away, chat, from watching. It will be a fun time. Hopefully our guy Sam is able to make it through heart attack free. Bills Chiefs. One of the most anticipated playoff games of our lifetime. But I don't think I'm being hyperbolic, chat. So we will be back later this week, I guess. We will see if things get really crazy for this this game. We'll unfortunately, not be on location here watching this game. We'll be on location somewhere else. But if things get really crazy and we're just, witnessed an all-time game and there's if we're going to get blue balls waiting till Tuesday night to talk about the Bills Chiefs game, I guess, we'll see what happens. But for now, go enjoy Bills Chiefs. We'll be back, of course, later in the week, like we said, watching hoops, talking sports. Same schedule as usual throughout the week. The Rem and Sam Pod here on YouTube, on the social platforms as well, if you guys want to follow us over there. If you guys still have TikTok on your phone, give us a follow. Instagram, we're on the podcast platforms as well too, Spotify and Apple. So my heart's about to beat out of my chest. Chat, pause. Mahomes versus Josh Allen, the quarterback duel of the century. Coming up next, we'll see what happens. Have a good night, people.